Okay, we're recording. Um, Once again, as always, I'm Brian Kynes, the creator of the Tales of Ulran campaign setting. We use Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition to tell our story, heavily homebrewed. And the awesome folks that have joined me this afternoon are here to help me write another chapter in the story. I just change it a little bit every time. I think it just gets a little better every time, right? It's all good. Um, so if you do watch these videos, and I know they're not, common knowledge so far, you know these people, but I still like to give them a chance to describe themselves and introduce themselves. And I would like to go ahead and start those introductions with Colby.
My name is Kobe, and I will be playing Killtusk, who is a native on the islands that we are at right now, and he is a barbarian/ranger.
Well done, sir. And the islands we are on are. I'm just giving you shit. I know. It's a lot of names. We are in the Crescent Cradle in the islands of Tenosia.
I'm
Okay,
trying to think of Tenosia. I was going to try to avoid the Crescent Cradle.
dude, I'm only giving you shit because I'm glad it happened to you and not me, because I have the list right here beside me and I forget the names of stuff I come up with too. We have jobs, we work. It's all good. So, having all that said, Mr. Keaton, go ahead.
We'll be playing Brahmas / Merc, a Seraphim Warforged, piloted by the spirit of a human paladin.
Nicely done. Love that character. You didn't mention what you were riding.
Oh yeah, and my brand new warhorse,
Very nicely done.
a celestial construct in and of itself.
That's wicked. That's cool. Reminds me of like Final Fantasy shit. I love that, man. It's really good. Corey, go ahead, please.
Yo, I'm Corey. I play Darius. I fuck shit up.
Word. Word.
And I want the fuck out of here now.
There it is. There it is. Um, yeah, grim words from Corey, but the truth. He speaks the truth. And lastly, but certainly not least, it's Sean. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sean, and I will be playing the Changeling Monk Rogue Celine.
For now, until you change it again. It's all
We'll
good.
see.
It's at your leisure. Of course, I always have like 5 blank character sheets, just waiting to see what Sean does to us. It's all good.
I mean, in all fairness, it is a changeling. So
I know it's part of the words. Like Brian, you can't be surprised. Change is part of the word. It's all good. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump back in to the terror that is this large 200-foot long wingspanned avian deity slash predator god, whatever you want to call this thing, this large rock, or as they call it here in the islands of Tenosia, the Quetzalcoatl. The group was tracking along, finally starting to get deep into the jungles, and they were being guided by Rowdy. Rowdy was this large dire boar, is this large dire boar. He's not dead. And he was able to communicate with Killtusk, because Killtusk has a bond with these creatures. He is of a clan of people called the Atlati warrior, and a lot of them take on beast familiars and steeds and have a mental link with them. And this one particularly, Rowdy, has lost the link to its owner and is trying to take us back in the direction that he believes she would be missing. Killtusk knows this person as Shakoma is her name, probably the greatest one of the Atlati warriors still existing. And we are headed that direction to try to locate her. And, well, there's a lot of fun stuff to be had there. Jeremy had called up the Warforged, or not the Warforged, the Mechon, which is the way we say it in the Tales of Ulran. Anything mechanical is called Mechon. This large celestial Mechon steed. Darius was actually riding Loki, which was going actually pretty well. And I want to remind you, you used one of your abilities to increase like the dexterity or something saves of this creature. Do you remember what all that entailed?
Yeah, I rubbed him real nice.
Yes, you did. Okay. So we've got. It sounded kind of dirty. I don't know if I like that, Killtusk. You better watch his ass.
I grabbed it. I grabbed his ass by the feathers and I said, "Get faster, you little mother."
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So, um, having said that, the group kind of flipped the fuck out. If I'm being honest, I'm not saying so much that Merc did, but people kind of lost their cool when this thing first flew in, and I described it as these really low-laying clouds. The rain was still quite heavy, as I remember Jeremy rolling for that. And when this thing appeared out of the clouds because it sensed something flying, which was Danny and my character's fault, it immediately came to attack. It's this time of year when this Quetzalcoatl are in these islands. It is extraordinarily territorial, and the sight and the viciousness of this creature, it will not tolerate any shit like that, and we are finding out firsthand. I'd like to start this episode with Celine. Be thinking about what you're ready to do, Colby, Killtusk. And I suggest the rest of you start doing that as well. As I'm going to put Celine into a scene here to bring Sean into this. Maybe Sean's going to say like, no, this is not the time to join up. You guys screwed up. So having said that, let me go ahead and put on a little bit of mood music. Celine, you are back on the Lilung, the airship. The group has been going for at least 6 to 8 hours now, traveling deep into the jungles. You had every intent of being part of this expedition. You've been watching, studying, and learning what you can about this group, and it's taught you quite a bit about yourself as well. You're always trying to play different roles to try to aid in whatever situation you find yourself. And now that you don't owe Gleandra the favor anymore, you're really starting to get a sense of what it's like to make decisions without guilt. And you're trying to bury some very deep held memories. As the group leaves, and you know they're venturing off, you feel torn as Tamara and you are sitting in the cabin that Oma is currently resting in. Oma comes back with some drinks that she had just collected, and Tamara has a very concerned look on her face as she comes down and sits down in front of you and hands you a glass of whatever you'd like for this to be. I'll say you both collectively had a conversation, and what you think Celine would have asked to drink as you were wasting by the hours watching for Oma to recover.
Probably a cup of tea or something.
Okay. Very monk of you, but we will do that. We'll do some tea. As she sits down and hands that to you, Tamara looks, and still, Tamara can look intense. She is a warrior chick, okay? And like we've already discussed in many of these episodes, her beauty, don't be fooled by it. She's a very intense-minded, devout paladin. And she looks over at Oma for a long time, and she looks distant, as if she's having some kind of thoughts. What is it you do in this moment as she hands you the mug?
So, Tamara, what's on your mind?
The one that came from the deck? The cursed one? He spoke to me urgently before they left. And I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around it. He said he had to speak with Oma, that it was of great importance. And he looked desperate, Celine. And I sit here, and I know that Valdair's tough, and I know that she can handle herself, right? We've been through this. And she just puts her hand and she rests on the side bed. She goes, I just can't be everywhere all the time. And now he's out there with my best friend. And I've just got to hope that she's got this this darkness under control. I've always been the one there by her side to kind of keep and she kind of gets lost in a moment in a little water. A little bit of that glow starts in her eyes, and she kind of looks and cracks a smile. She goes, "We are the better half of each other." And this is a very steep hill to climb when your other half is not around. And she seems deeply concerned.
Well, as one who used to walk in the shadows, it is not always easy to come back to the light. But if you remain strong, and you have the right people around you, it's not impossible.
When you say that, Oma kind of uncomfortably and she turns towards you all with her eyes still closed, repositioning because she's getting little aches and pains where she's been laying in bed so much. And Tamara gives her a look closely. Celine, I'd like for you to roll a perception check, please.
A 10.
Okay. Nothing out of the ordinary here. She seems to be clutching some kind of papers and stuff in her unconscious hand. But nothing that you would suspect is strange.
May I do a medicine check on Oma to see how she's getting along since her encounter?
Absolutely, you may. Go ahead.
That's a 15.
A 15. She still is like you turned her contrast down to 50%. She is still very gray, but the blueness to her lips and the coldness that surrounded her, almost like feet radiate coldness when you've been outside in the winter for too long. Before, when you were mending to her and wiping the sweat off of her head and trying to hush her when she was having nightmares and things, those things, that coldness seems to be gone from her. But she is still working hard to refill her body with the life essence that used to be there. She is recharging at probably 50%, to put it in perspective for you. But the coldness is gone. As you do that, Tamara gives you a long look and says, she's still not where she was, but it's an improvement. She says, can you imagine having the people that you've lived with your entire life within you, helping and guiding you along the way? I mean, is that a curse or is that great fortune?
I wouldn't know either way.
She gives you a studied look for a minute. Do you say that in almost like a deep sadness, Sean, like something missing, or do you just say that plain?
I'd say that with an air of sadness on it.
She looks at you for a minute, and she gets some more tea to refill your cup a little bit. And she says, you know, if something were to happen on this ship and it would have been you, I have a suspicion people would have been by your bedside as well, Celine. And she gives you eyebrows up as if she's waiting you to acknowledge this.
I simply nod.
Okay.
I suppose you're right.
As that happens, and there's a gust of wind and rain as the rain begins to get heavier for them, as it did with everyone out in the woods, the forest, the jungle, whatever you want to call it. There are lanterns hanging in here. And as the ship goes to sway back and forth, you're drawn, and you notice them because the glass will clink a little bit against the iron handle of it. And when you do, there's such a very small reminder. But they're always reminders to you, Celine. And the wick of this lantern flutters to a degree and waves back and forth. And it draws a memory. I would like for you to do a wisdom check.
Saving throw or just a straight wisdom check?
Just a check.
Okay. That is a total of 20.
Okay. The sensation does not overwhelm you.
Mhm.
It seems that these steps you've taken in changing who you are and rolling with the punches, so to speak, you have more pressing things now that mean something to you that are replacing the empty voids of the things that are unfinished in your life. And that 20 proves it. But in that moment, that flame reminds you of the hair of a very treacherous person for just a brief moment. And as you see that, you would kind of wince that off of that 20
Mhm.
and be like, that's the past. Let's focus on the future. Okay? With that, you all of a sudden get a jolt of something as you hear an echoing caw from Isadora the Raven inside your mind's eye. Okay? As this happens, I will let you go ahead and role play how you want to communicate, see through it, because you know where you've sent Isadora and you know how far she's gone. What would you like to do in this moment as Tamara looks at you for just a minute and you feel a little bit of tea splash on your hand as she was pouring that into you and you got this little flash? Your hand jerked a little bit, and when you come back from your moment, you see that she stopped pouring and she's just looking at you with a question mark. What is it you're doing?
After seeing the vision, she looks briefly shocked and says to Tamara, "Something's happening. They're in trouble. I have to go."
She looks around the room for a minute as if she's having to collectively think quickly, and she says, if you're going, I have one thing to give you. I'll be right back. Don't leave. However you plan to do this until I have one thing to give you. Okay? And she jumps up quickly and she stomps out of the room with the heavily armored boots and armor and stuff like that on. And so what are you doing now?
I'm going to gather my things quickly and get ready to leave.
Okay. I'll say just 30 or 45 seconds pass away. And as you're sitting there thinking about things and how you're wanting to see this vision and divulge this and get to them in any way possible, you hear a very faint, mumbled, weak song being hummed beautifully. And you would see Oma, with her eyes closed, singing one of these tribal songs. Roll a history check for me, please.
Say 15.
On the nights that you've spent on the ship and flying and things like that, and you've also heard Dahan speak of this too, one of Dahan's favorite things that gives him peace, as being the big Samoan-looking warrior tattooed on this ship, is that Oma sings soft songs that reminds him of home. She does it to soothe herself, and she does it to soothe others. And you've heard her do this when she's in the cleric mode and she is summoning these spirit walking people to her. She begins that to a degree, and you can't help but think that although she is deep asleep, there is some part of her that is conscious and understands the unease in the room. It is a strange sensation. And as she begins to hum this, you hear soft drum beats, tribal of a sense, in your ears and heads ever so slightly, as if there's some kind of link between you two, although very weak. In that moment, Tamara comes back in, and she is clutching in her hands a black iron lantern that is very finely crafted, beautiful for the hard material that it's made out of. And she takes it and she hands it to you. And she says to you, she goes, "There's no easy way to put this to you, Celine. This is my replacement for Valdera when I'm not there." She looks guilty. This has to be treated very carefully. This is something that Vander gave me, and she looks very guilty. This helps Valdera sleep and not dwell on the evils of her past. It's not with her now. She needs it. And she doesn't know what it does. Just tell her that if she's looking for light in the darkness, this would be like looking into my eyes. And she hands you this. You automatically realize this is a magical device. Roughly to explain from what she just said, you have an idea. It helps soothe her and keeps that evil from building up in her at night. That's the extent of it. And she hands you the lantern. She gives you a nod, and she hears the humming too. What are you doing now, Sean?
I'm going to take the lantern, wrap it in some kind of cloth or something to keep it safe, put it in my bag, and just tell her, I'll guard this with my life. I'll ensure it gets to her.
Okay. At that point, she goes over to Oma's side and begins to wipe her head off, and she gives you a nod. Do you leave the room, or do you do things in here, or where do you go? To your own chambers? Do you go outside?
I go to my own chambers to just pick up the last few things, and then I try and head out.
Okay. As you do, and you head out, you get another blast. It's an image from Isadora, as if you're using that link that you two have, like a familiar. And you see an ominous shadow growing in low-lying storm clouds as the backdraft of this creature, and the large wings moving as if in slow motion, sucks the clouds inward, revealing the silhouette of something large looming over the jungle canopy, almost like when you see helicopters landing in movies and the trees are doing that kind of shit. You get an image of that, and you get another cry from the back of your mind, and you hear these drums pound even a little bit more in the back of your head. You hear a whispered voice, and it's Oma's. And it says, "Go to her. You can go to her. I'll help you." What are you doing?
Celine will accept and then mutter a short, quick prayer to Elea, the goddess of mercy.
As you do this, you close your eyes. In the middle of muttering the prayer, you feel wind on your face. As you take a deep breath in, this wind fills your lungs. Your heart begins to race. You can see the treetops. You can feel the fear of Isadora becoming a part of your own conscious fear. And in just a moment, it feels like you are leaving that place. And you find yourself inside the mind of Isadora. You don't know if this is physical, but you feel the stress of the muscles on your back as these wings flap hard against the rain. You feel the cold seeping down between the cracks of the wing cover that you have. Your eyesight is phenomenal. You are seeing Brahmas, Killtusk, the warhog. You are seeing Darius on the back of Loki. You are seeing these things in flashes, so quick that your mind almost can't comprehend it in that moment. You feel as if you have joined with Isadora. What is it you do in this moment?
I immediately look for the group and try and get as close to them as possible.
Okay. Just for the hell of it, roll me a dexterity check. And let me know how this works out. This will help me with things. Not a saving throw, just a check.
It's a total of 20 again.
That's awesome. That gets you there like the way you'd want to get there. Okay? So, as you go soaring down, almost straight, as Isadora goes into a dive that now possibly could just be Celine. You're diving straight down. This is an amazing sensation, almost taking your breath away from you. Okay, you can't imagine going this fast. And as you jump down and you go between the leaves of the trees and the different vegetation that's here, and you pierce through the clouds, when you land with that good of a dexterity check, I'm going to paint out the picture of where everyone's at, and you tell me where you want to position yourself, okay? And I'm going to let you either stay as Isadora or change and be your true form here. Here's the picture. Darius's character is saying something in slow motion as he is bucking and kicking this thing, trying to get it to go with everything that he has. I'm not going to lie, there's at least 8 or 10 holy fucks and bullshits thrown into this mix of jumbled emergency procedure words, as he is just, let's fucking roll, okay? I think that depicts it pretty well, doesn't it, Darius?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you also see Jeremy on this large steed. This is a very fascinating thing, like we discussed earlier. He's on this large Mechon celestial construct like warhorse. Something that is big enough and sturdy enough to accommodate Brahmas, which is pretty impressive on its own. Yeah, and it is holding up the rear. He seems to be the most cool and collected of the group. He is about 10 to 15 foot behind everybody else. The Rowdy, the dire boar, has Silouan on front, stooped down with her helmet low. Now she's looking through the wyvern hood visors of this thing and rapping on this thing like crazy as Killtusk is reaching back for a large bone, what looks like a mix between a call and a saxophone, like made out of dinosaur bone with all kinds of holes and paintings and shit in it, as he's struggling to reach back and grab it, as he's saying things and shouting commands as Silouan as to how to move forward. Okay? Eros, Danny's griffin, which you have seen a couple different times, drops down through the tree canopy and lands about 15 foot in front of the group. As Danny jumps off, Valdera goes to grab her sword and stops and has a look of concern in her eyes. You're not used to that.
Mhm.
She doesn't look like this very often. As Danny seems to be pleading and saying something to the griffin creature. Where would you like to land, and in what form would you like to be in when you do so, Sean?
I'd like to turn back into Celine, but kind of land within 30 feet of everyone.
Behind, beside, or in front of?
Or like kind of in the middle of everyone so that I can catch everyone in a 30-foot radius.
Awesome. I will put you, do you want to be to the right or left of Rowdy?
I'll be to the left of him.
Okay, which is really insignificant at this moment. We've not really said anything there. So, everyone, roll me a perception check. Go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
As I land, I'm going to quickly shout to everyone, gather close and stand still.
Okay,
And
so
then-
roll me a performance check of that.
Okay, so it's 10.
Okay. Everyone, go ahead and roll perception checks for me around the table. I remember that you guys have some bonuses on some things. Nothing to be feared around Jeremy. And there's also some other bonuses on some things. You guys had advantage on wisdom and charisma-based shit, I believe, because Darius was doing a little ditty. I remember that. Just now is good. What is everyone's perception rolls? And I'll begin with someone that's notoriously shitty on rolls. It's Colby. What's your roll, buddy?
Total of 20.
Nicely done. You hear the words. Jeremy.
I only got a 7.
A 7. That rain's awful hard pounding down on your metal head. Maybe it was tough. Tin roof syndrome. Darius.
14.
14. You were steadfast and kind of holding still anyway. Did both of the two of you, Darius and Colby, you see Celine fall. You see this raven come screeching down from the sky. And right before it lands, you see Celine almost Superman-like land with this long cloak that she has on and cape and things kind of flat out around the ground as the mask is affixed to the face. It takes on the look of that raven as she kind of fixes it and pulls the hair back out of her face, stands up and yells what Sean said. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Once everyone's got the message, Celine is going to make her hand signals, and she's going to use 2 key points to cast Pass Without a Trace on everyone.
Awesome. Everyone within 30 foot?
Yeah, everyone within 30 feet.
I'm going to say, just because I mentioned 15 foot behind, 15 foot in front, and I wasn't doing that to help with the mechanic. I don't think everyone had shit or get off the pot quite yet. We were getting there. People were getting ready to take off. I'm going to let this capture everybody. You rolled a really good dexterity check. When you dropped down, you landed right where you wanted to. Everyone has not just went, ah! and just scattered yet. I'm going to let that happen. Okay? So that gives you advantage on stealth checks, or is it a plus 10? Which one is it?
It is a plus 10 to dexterity stealth checks.
That is fan.
And we can't be tracked except by magical means.
Okay. So, as that happens, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with Killtusk because it's theatrically pleasant. Okay? So, buddy, you have a chance here to suck it up and do what you do. Okay? Paint a picture for me and explain to me what this looks like, Colby. And explain to me what it is that you're doing in this moment as you got excited. You have never seen this creature before. You've heard the legends. And between seeing Brahmas being a walking, acting, ancient relic of forgotten times that maybe you've seen buried in this place, and now you're seeing this thing for real, you're feeling the wind off of this creature and you feel the fear of it. All that overwhelmed you in that moment. And I get it, buddy. I'd be shitting myself, okay? And your reaction to this, I get it. And in that loss of moment, you're starting to come to your senses. Celine, when you come down and you cast that spell, the Pass Without Trace, Colby, Explain to me what you're doing in this moment. Make sure to speak loud in the microphone, please.
So, Killtusk would probably be probably getting off Rowdy to get like his best stance in order to like perfect his monster call of of a pterodactyl that he's gonna sound off.
Okay. How many pterodactyls do you want to sound like? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Each one raises the difficulty level of what you're doing, but in turn, it can make the call all the more fooling. It's a double-edged sword, my friend, and I want you to decide how sharp it is before you grab it. We try on 1, 2, 3, or 4.
We'll try 2.
2 it is. Okay, so you've jumped off of Rowdy in that moment. I'll give you a free action. Do you say anything to Silouan about possibly stopping in that moment? Well, let's roll for Silouan to see if she heard. Okay, Jeremy, do that for me, please.
What is it? 1d20 and a 1d4.
1d4 for her.
Nine.
9. She would have she may have not quite heard that, Colby, with everything coming down, so I'll give you a free action to say a 3-word phrase to her that hopefully conveys, you have this cast upon you now. What do you want her to do? And I'll say, hold on, just for the fun of it. Yeah, 3 in 3 words. What do you want her to do before you jump off and do this? It's 1 word.
She would probably say stay put.
Okay, good enough. As you do that, I could see Rachel be like, what do you mean stay put? What am I trying to... Oh, now you're jumping off. Okay. That sounds like a very Rachel thing to say to you in that moment. With that, roll me the performance check. And remember, you have skill points and things like this, so tell me what the total modifier of this is before you roll it. I'm curious, because I know it's good.
Yeah. Wait, did you say what check is this?
It's your monster calling one, which I believe is wisdom, but you can double check in there and make sure.
No, it's charisma.
Okay.
Because it's persuasion and deception.
Okay, so go ahead.
So, 2, and then, so. Ooh, 11.
Okay.
No. I was thinking of a different number. 13.
A 13 total.
Yeah.
Okay, and what are your modifiers to that?
It's +2 with charisma, and then another +2 of monster culling.
Okay. Okay, so when you do that, that's maybe going to sound like 1. It's not going to be enough to sound like 2. Do you want to use your extra roll to do that? Do you want to burn your shit, or do you want to stick with it?
I'll probably burn it since we're trying to lure this bird away.
Okay, go ahead and mark off that your inspiration is used here, and go ahead and re-roll 1s or a re-roll on this inspiration. That's how I do it. If you're going to do this, I don't call 1s on an inspiration roll. House rule. What's that?
The D20 again? Is that what I'm rolling?
Yes, yes. Re-roll it. I roll another D20. 1 is a re-roll.
Same number.
Same number. So you got 13 total?
Yeah.
Okay. So as you pull this flute out, or this lute, this large device, and you're making this call, and you're holding it up in the air from the ground so you can get a good heft of your lungs and stuff and go to blow through this, the heavy rain has made it difficult to cover the different holes and airways through this thing to make the proper noise. But you are able to pull off enough to make a convincing sound, to make it sound like there is one pterodactyl flying in the sky around you. Okay? But it was not enough to sound like two. In that moment, Darius, when you heard Celine say this, what was your reaction?
So, you talking about when Celine comes down and is asking us to come together?
Yes.
I mean, out of character, I was trying to think that, right? I was thinking, what would Darius do? But Darius saw Celine before, so Darius knows Celine is part of the party.
Yes.
So Darius would trust Celine in the instance of, what? I guess whatever's going on, let's go this way for a second.
Right on. And mind you, there's no right or wrong answer here. That's what's great about this. We're just going to see how the dice fall. So just have fun, play your character the best you want to do, and if you're good with it, you're good. If you're not, we're all good. Whatever you want to do with it, Corey.
Yeah, Darius would have no reason to distrust Celine in this moment.
Okay.
So if Celine's rallying the party, Darius he'd stop for a split second and be like, okay. And just turn that motherfucker around.
Okay. Just one moment, everybody.
He's telling his wife he's going to kill us all.
Okay. No, that is not what I was saying. All right. So, with that, Celine did the roll. Jeremy, I'll give you a moment to respond to this as you see Celine landing. You've seen Celine landing. Put into one word, it's Celand.
The landing.
Yeah, Celanding. You've seen her pull off globes of darkness. You've been in battles before where she's done stealthy things. When you hear this, what is Merc's reaction?
Being able to look around, does it look like everybody will be able to get in time before anything else could happen?
It's going to be damn close.
Who's the farthest away?
You believe it would be up ahead on Eros? It would be Danny and Valdera. They're going to be about 15 to 20 foot up ahead of them, maybe barely able to get into the range, as Danny is doing something that you can't quite see up ahead, but you see Valdera with her hand over her back on that great blade, just kind of ducking down, but not grabbing it, just resting her hand against it, looking up at the sky, like not sure how she wants to react. Hey, Jeremy, I just have 4 words for you. What would Jesus do?
I think if he can do it, he would like to try to get to them and pull them back.
Okay.
Like just kind of like a snap to attention, like, hey, this is what's going on. Get.
Okay. So go ahead and roll me a dexterity check. I'm just curious to see how you do. And this would be with the horse.
Of course.
There you go. I knew it was coming. I'm glad you picked up quick, buddy. Nicely done. I'd give you inspiration for that, but you already got it.
Mm-hmm.
Be a 14.
Okay. I'm going to say you circle around the same side that Celine was on. And this horse, its back is higher than your head, Celine. And he comes marching around, but the mud and stuff you usually would kick up and splash from this undergrowth and shit is not anything like it would have been if it not been for your addition to this scenario. And Brahmas, I'm going to give you a persuasion or performance, your choice, to say something to Danny and Valdera in this moment. You're up in front now. You've used your movement to move around. You are within 10, 15 foot of them, just on the outside edge of where this radius would be.
So a persuasion to get him to be like, hey, don't
could
do
be
anything
for-
dumb.
Whatever you think, whatever you want to say as Merc yelling out from Brahmas to these people in this moment. I mean, you're a soldier. You know what people sound like when they throw out commands. You know what it is to be serious here. What is Merc saying?
Could I get advantage because they both know that if I'm saying something, that it is with their well-being in mind?
If this was a normal situation, yes, but I'm going to say no because of the epic variable that they are paying attention to now. Because Danny's in the middle of convincing Eros his plan, and Valdera's like, what the fuck? Looking up the sky. If this was just a normal bar scene, I would do that. This is going to be a straight roll for this one, sir.
It was a 26 regardless, so.
Yeah. I'd say you did just fine, buddy. I'd say you did. So, you are extraordinarily persuasive. Tell me what it sounds like. Shout it out, Jeremy. What we got?
So basically, he knows Valdera and how hot-headed she is, and he knows Bast, who's always up to something. And he's just basically telling them both, like, look, this is not a fight we need to be a part of right now. It's best we back away.
Okay, you sold it. As your kid laughs and mocks our danger in the background. It's fantastic. Dad's gonna die. All right, so dude, with a natural 4 and a natural 5, Bast and Valdera are on board. You heroic son of a bitch. Well done, buddy. Well done. It's the small victories, Jeremy. It's the small victories, buddy. All right. So, with that, you see Eros take off into the sky. And the moment that Eros' wings, the griffin in front, flap and it breaks through the wood line, you hear Killtusk sound off. And it sounds like a prehistoric avian creature blows out of this musical instrument that he has. It sounds amazing in this moment. It's convincing. It makes you think that something is near. Okay? Now for the fun stuff. Okay. Does anyone else have anything maybe I've overstepped or forgotten that they were trying to pull off in this instance before I go ahead and roll some checks for the Quetzalcoatl? Okay. Jeremy, I need you to roll me a 1d4. Two. There are 2 triceratops out in the flat that were scared up and are now running to get out of the wake of this creature because they were laying low waiting for the storm to pass, somewhat like deer do and things of that nature. And when this creature started calling out and all these things started happening, these 2 flipped the fuck out and started going across. That's 2. Okay? Corey, I need you to roll me a 1d4.
Why is that one the one that doesn't want to come out? Ding.
Isn't it always? A 3. Okay. The flock of birds that jumped up and had these bright color, like large prehistoric looking toucans. Toucans, however you want to say it. Pecans, however you want to say it. That were flying in this large flock and dove straight down into there. Their distraction and them being the possible avian thing that this creature saw regs on a 3. Okay? Colby, you rolled a 13 to begin with, right? We're going to add the 2 Triceratops. And we're going to add a little bit based on what Corey just rolled for the other variables here that could be applying in. Now we have to understand that there is a visual thing jumping out to take responsibility for this, followed by the call of a pterodactyl. I have a DC in my mind based on these numbers and things, and we're going to see what goes on right here. Okay? It's cocked. It was between a 16 and a 6, and it was cocked. Ain't worth a shit. It's cocked again between an 18 and a 4. My dice tower's playing tricks on me. I'm not shitting you. You can't make this up. That's the metal dice too. It's heavy. It normally doesn't cock. Okay. That's legit. Plus stuff. Shit. I need you, Sean, to roll me a 1d6.
Six.
Oh, fuck. (13 plus 6 equals 19 for the Quetzalcoatl's perception check to identify what's going on and focus in on something here. Now let's talk about the variables. We had 13 from what Colby rolled, plus 2 for the Triceratops, plus 3 for the birds, 18. Missed it by 1. Just being 1, the creature comes flying in and going after arrows. Okay? I need everyone to roll me stealth checks plus 10. Except for, well, no, because you said very well to Danny and M&A were able to get in here. So, Colby, go ahead and roll me a stealth check plus 10 and tell me what you're able to get.
$23.
23. That's a pass. That's 1 pass. And as you guys know right now, the DC's 19. Jeremy, I need you to roll me a stealth check with disadvantage because you are a large metal thing in a natural jungle. But it's plus 10. You are on a large metal horse, a large metal construct. If you want to debate with me, you can. I want you to be able to change my mind, but that's a pretty tough one. Am I right?
So, would it surprise you at all that myself and the horse have the same dexterity score?
No. I mean, not even really. Not even really. Whatever you roll, disadvantage plus 10. What'd you get? Oh, fuck. Okay.
19.
Okay. 19's a tie. You got one
A
win.
natural 20 and a 17.
That's cool. That's cool. God, that's nice. Okay. Corey. Stealth or with plus 10. And did you say you did that thing that gives you possibly what did it that ability you
It's the
put
bird,
on?
not me.
Okay,
It
well
gives
that's
the bird. Shit, what was it? It gives the bird cat-like reflexes. I used enhance ability, which gives Advantage on dexterity checks.
I'm going to give you advantage on this roll.
Oh, that forever ago.
Just because you two are riding each other as a unit.
Yeah, that's fine. I was thinking about something, but I don't know this creature enough yet.
No, go ahead, by all means.
So
Corey started like four
No,
sentences right there.
no, I'm gonna pass on that. I'm just gonna dex check for right now. I'm just
Okay, okay.
So am I 23.
Okay. One reason that I'm not doing the creatures as well, I'm making yours and Loki's the same, Darius. He is a trained stealth hunter in these kind of conditions and is naturally camouflaged to work in such a way. Now, Rowdy's going to be a different story. We're going to get there. Okay? But with you casting that on him and yours, I'm satisfied with that roll. Celine, just for shits and giggles, roll me the check plus 10. Oh, shit. What'd you do?
So that's a natural 20
Fuck.
plus 12 plus 10, so that's a 42.
Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's stop the music. Let's go ahead and acknowledge that this is the group's first 40 in history. Congratulations, Sean. Hey, everyone, if you could, just go ahead and let's give it to Sean. Sean, for a 40. Thank you. Very amazing. I mean, well played. No shit. Seriously. Damn, 42. You're not even sure if you're there anymore. That's a big pass. Anything that makes Sean smile, I know I'm winning. It's a small victory. So, now we have to do Celine. And I'll have Colby. Go ahead and do Celine's. This is a decent one. This is going to be a 1d20 and a 1d6. And tell me what you get with Celine, and that's plus 10.
You mean Silouan?
Silouan, yes, that's what I meant. They begin with the same letter. It's all good. It's like I don't even know my own characters. It's crazy.
31.
You say 31? I'm very proud. Rachel would be pleased with this. Okay, and Jeremy, I will have you roll for Danny's character. That's going to be a 1d20 and a 1d8 plus 10. If you roll 2 1s, I'm going to love it because Danny deserves that shit.
35 with a natural 20.
Jesus criminy, you guys. It's like we didn't even leave the ship. With that, I like how everyone else is flipped and Sean's just like, 20s. I don't care. So moving on, I'm going to have me roll for Valdera with disadvantage because I'm in medium armor and I'm not super good at being stealthy. Let's go ahead and do, but plus 10. Plus whatever normally I would get, and I have heavy armor proficiency, so I can have a max of 2. That's not bad. 7 plus 10 is 17, plus 2 is 19. 19 is exactly what I need. That's great. Okay, so she has that Chimera's mantle that she wears with that long fur black and gray cloak that she wears on the back. She's able to flip it up and jump into this circle. The Quetzalcoatl, even with an amazing 19 on its roll, or on its, after all of its bonuses, comes in and goes past us and goes towards Eros in the distance. Okay? As the two take off, Eros, and you've seen this bird over the last 8 or 9 hours as we've been going into the jungle, is very agile, swoops in and out of the low-lying trees and the clouds. This is a former celestial or Griffin of the Blackwing Guard. I mean, this thing is unique and fascinating and very agile and fast. I need, Jeremy, I want you to roll me 5 d20s. Tell me what the total is.
44.
44. He only gets about 50 yards away. Well, no, hold on. Yeah. 50 yards away. Before the Quetzalcoatl comes in and you see the claws come down and swoop and grab on to the creature for just a moment, and then it bursts into a burst of light and disappears in an instant, as the talons would have went straight through the summoned steed. In that moment, the rock lets out a scream that is infuriation of betrayal as it dives into another low-lying cloud bank off to the side, and you can hear the fierce beating of the wings as you can see one wing stay as it begins to turn and make a swoop over top of the field below. What is the party doing at that moment, as it didn't get nearly as far away as everyone had hoped initially? Killtusk, I will start with you in this moment. You saw the creature. It drank the Kool-Aid, man. It took off going that direction. Arrows took out of there like a silver bullet, man, just getting it. And not even a football field away. That damn large creature swept in. The leaves and shit are flying around you. The rain comes across your all's face. It swept in and descended on Arrows in moments. What's your first reaction and response to this? Everyone's huddled up, trying to be as stealthy as they can, and your overall rolls were really, really good. I'm going to say before you got into this clearing, you guys are in a pretty decent spot for the time being. Okay? I mean, that's fair with all the 20s rolled in there, and no one failed the check. The worst we had is someone matched it. What are you doing? You are muted, by the way. Do you need a minute?
Yeah.
Okay. In this moment, Celine. The bird took off in the opposite direction, just like I described to everybody else. It seems like it's making a turn to come back over to see, you know, it buys, possibly that's what it was, but you can't quite tell. It is angry, and it's coming back around over top of the clearing where you have the large tropical birds and the 2 triceratops. They're now just making a stampede for the forest line. What are you doing?
I think she's gonna try and see if she can find some cover, like maybe a large tree or canopy, and kind of motion for everyone to get under it. Paso of the Trace does last for an hour, so.
Fantastic. You have to have concentration on that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to use investigation to see if you can find a place to go? And when you move, they have to move with you, correct?
Yes. You
You're
have to
gonna
stay
have
within
to-
30 feet.
You have to verbalize that. So go ahead and do
Yeah.
your investigation. See what you got around you. Go ahead.
Another natural 20.
No shit.
For
You guys
total
are
of
broken.
27.
Yeah, you know, I mean, literally at this point, with these great rolls and stuff like that, I'm going to say there is a large ancient tree that provides quite a bit of cover within 30 foot of you.
Mhm.
That has other ones around. It has low-laying vines coming
Mhm.
from it, and there's a patch of these trees that are similar in height and stature. Right before this clearing starts,
Mhm.
there are 3 just like that. It would give all kinds of cover if you were able to get to
Celine
that.
will
So,
just quickly announce to everyone to follow her to cover, and she's gonna lead the way.
okay. Okay, with that, Jeremy, what is your response to this?
Brahmas is going to do what Brahmas does. He's going to make sure everybody gets away from the area before him.
Okay. So as you're ushering on, I'm going to say that Danny and Valdera follow suit with you. As they look, Valdera keeping her hand on that and looking to the sky, and she does a low crawl over that way where Bastille goes quite stealthily and gets over and begins to ascend the tree. Okay, and is doing quite well and starts to ascend and get up into the top of it. Darius, in that moment, as Celine seems to be herding everybody into a grouping of trees that she's detected just no more than 30 foot away, are you following suit or do you have other plans?
Yeah, I'm gonna follow suit.
Okay. As you head that direction, Colby, now you've had some moments to think about this. Celine seems to have found a large clearing of trees. What is it you are doing in this instance? Is there anything you do to help the situation, or are you just going to try to take cover?
I'll probably try to take cover and follow Celine.
Okay. As you guys do this, go ahead. What'd you say, Sean? Oh, nothing. Okay. All right. So, in that instance, everybody's going that direction. The Quetzalcoatl comes back around and begins to sweep over top of the canopy. Okay. I have a d20 roll to make. This is including you guys did a really good job here, but there's a small chance that it could look for the place this thing erupted out of. There are the triceratops, there's the flock of birds, and there is it not finding anything. There's a 1d20 roll here that's going to dictate what that happens. Okay, we are about, I think that's even too steep. 5, 10. Okay.
Quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
The intensify spell, is that on one spell particularly forever?
Yes.
Or is
Every time you use that feat, that is a combination of that one spell permanently. Yeah, so you couldn't intensify magic missile one day, then firebolt the next day. It's something that you've had to pull and select, and something that stays specific to your character. It's kind of a double-edged sword, but it can be quite nice. You know what I mean? Okay. And if you want to, and I know that feat's kind of been laying in the background for you, Darius. And if you're thinking about something in the back of your mind, I will let you bring that into the now whenever you want to, okay? That's in your back pocket, bud. If something sounds good to you, get after it, okay?
yeah.
Okay. That's the best case. I can't believe this shit. Okay. So 1 through 5 was the possibility of it coming in and getting the location. Okay. 6 through 10 was the flock of birds. 11 through 20 were the triceratops. And I rolled a natural 20. So how many natural 20s, guys, is that in this episode already? It's 6? I think it's like 5 or 6, isn't it? That's more than I've ever remember seeing rolled that early on. But yeah, on the steel dice, natural 20. The bird, the large deity god, whatever you want to call it, comes swooping around and goes down. And as its talons and large, off ivory white, yellow, scaled feet rake into the foliage of this clearing up ahead, as whatever trees happen to be lying in the area in the sparse and few seem to be yielded back and start cracking, it goes over and buries the toenail of the four-pronged hand deep into the rib cage of one of these triceratops as a muffled moo, like a call that comes from this thing, almost like a cow that has been injured, comes from this creature as it drags it and picks the entirety of this thing up off the ground and carries it off with it in anger. It then climbs up so many feet and drops the creature. As I've read into how rocks do their attacks. As this thing goes spiraling down, it makes a sickening thud into the grass and stuff up ahead. You hear bones break. You hear a large pound, and you can feel this in your feet. I mean, you are at a rap concert. The bass is real. Okay, this is ridiculous. As it comes back around again, God damn, dude. It gets onto the other one. And this time it stops, and when it lands for just a moment, and this clearing looked big. And those of you that are brave enough to peer out from beneath these trees and see this thing, it gets a hold of the second triceratops as the horns that would normally spear a predator like this thing stops running and turns and buries its ass and it sticks its horns up like that. That thing gives no regard for that as the fingers of the talons of it go around the horns, grab onto it, and pick it up, and it gets to it with its beak and makes a meal of this thing. As it sits there pecking at this thing for a good 5-10 minutes. And you're watching the long strands of meat come off this creature. What is everybody doing? Valdera, I'll start with her. She looks over her shoulder. And she looks to Celine. And sincerely whispers down low, and she makes her way over to you. She goes, I'm really glad you showed up when you did. Do you have anything to say in response to that?
I am too.
She goes, we don't have to kill this thing to be here. That's not the entire goal. There are other ways around this. Right? And she says it with a surprising question mark, as if she's starting to have doubts. In that moment, does anyone else have any dialogue they want to say in this moment as everyone is sitting there trying to hold their breath the best they can as this creature is having a meal of one of these triceratops out there in the distance? You can hear the snap of the beak echo as if someone is taking like two wood blocks and smacking them together in the distance as it echoes throughout here. The large movements and the squawks of this creature as it's eating. This thing is ferocious. Mark, are you saying anything to the group as you lie and waiting for this thing to be done and move off?
I would be peeking out ever so subtly to study this thing. I know it's got a huge wingspan. Is this something it's got like a long neck? Or is it just like a giant bird proportionally?
This looks to be, just for the hell of it, roll me a perception check. Let me know where you stand.
14.
Okay. With a 14, this thing seems to look like kind of like a prehistoric like vulture. Is the thing. With different colored feathers around the neck, kind of similar to Loki, but the head being of these dark feathers that have like a blue tint, kind of like a starling, and that seems to encompass quite a bit of the body. in the top of the wings as well, as the underbelly of the creature seems to be white and ivory to a degree, almost to the point when it flies overhead, it would almost look like a large kind of cloud kind of coloring, but the top of the creature is quite dark, where when it lands into the darkness and the overgrowth, it could be hard to see from the sky. It's quite clever in the genetics of this thing. And as it looks down and reaches at this thing, it is what's the term? It is aware, but it is ferocious. Like you've seen birds, you've been on the field of battle, Merc. You've woke up the next morning and seen the bodies. You've seen the birds come out to feast on fallen comrades and things like that in the corpse of your enemy. This thing is more ferocious than that. You know, buzzards come over and they'll get a dead carcass, a corpus, a carcass, and they'll feed on it. This thing is delighting in this, and it is proving a point here. This is a dominant creature that is letting anything know that you don't fuck around when it's at home laying eggs. You're in its territory. It's making an example out of these things. Okay?
Do I get any sort of sense, like, are the feathers in the underbelly thinner than what they are on the back?
Not with a 14, you don't. Yeah, you would almost imagine so just because of the lighter color, but you're not certain. Okay. Darius, is there anything that you are saying? I'll let you dismount Loki if you want, or you can still be on top of him, or I'll give you a moment here to have some role play with the rest of them as you see Brahmas looking out as the warhorse takes one or two silent trudges forward, and Brahma seems to be peering through the visors of this large construct and studying. You would see all these other things going on. What would Darius be doing in this moment?
So the creature's still near us.
It's once it went out, it got arrows quick, then it went out and swung back around, and now I'm going to say the creature is at least 150 yards in the middle of that fairly large clearing out ahead of you guys, underneath storm clouds and stuff, eating on a triceratops corpse that it just created. A football field and a half away.
150 foot. Okay. So I see him peering in that direction. It doesn't seem like he's trying to go off in that direction. But I would kind of just call out, not loud enough since the creature is nearby, but so slightly under my breath, just like, we should probably regroup and maybe the locals here have more information about that creature. They've been here, they dealt with it. I have questions of my own.
Killtusk, you hear him bring this up in the background. Is there anything your character would like to add to that about any kind of lore? And if not, I don't mean to put you on the spot, boss. It's just when he's saying, hey, maybe the locals around here will know more about it. Maybe there's more to do here. You can make up a bit of lore and throw this way and talk about this attack. You can describe how long you think it'll take for it to move off. There are all kinds of options here. If you want to give this a little bit of flavor, you're more than welcome. Or you can stay silent and wait for this to pass over. I'll give you a chance here, Colby. What do you want to do?
Mm-hmm. That's what probably say to Darius. My people, all we know is mainly the legends of this bird. This is for sure the first time I have seen it up close.
Well, the legends are stories for a reason. They have some sort of truth in them. So that doesn't mean we need to stand by and inspect it for ourselves. No offense, big guy. I'd rather not die today. If we could find shelter, maybe you can tell us some of these stories and we could see what makes sense and what doesn't. but standing out here in the open isn't going to keep us alive.
Valdera speaks up and says, I second what he's saying. And she's referring to what Darius is saying. She goes, she looks at you, Killtusk, deeply and says, legend or not, tell us anything you can when we get a chance. Anything could help here. I need to know. I need to know anything for the sake of everybody here in this mission. What are you saying to that, Killtusk?
If we can make it, if we can, it tells us mostly, if we can make it to the lodge that Rowdy has been leading us to, that I believe he has been leading us to.
The large dire boar that's leaning up against one of the trees so slightly, kind of with its head down, kind of low, hears you say its name. It's familiar with that, and kind of looks over to you with half-closed eyes, as if it's trying to shun its eyes from the large creature, as if it's afraid to look up at its direction. And it just kind of sniffs the ground, blowing some dirt and some loose grass up. It nudges over to your direction and puts its head back down, knowing that you're speaking about it. Go ahead, Darius.
As I see Killtusk over there, like looking at, Darius is gonna have a kind of a smile on his face, trying to ease what he's about to say.
How attached are you to that creature? It could be used as bait if we need to get out quickly.
What do you say to that, Killtusk?
It is not me. You're probably like, it is not me you will have to worry about if we do.
Well, let's go, and maybe we won't have to worry about it.
Okay. Celine, anything to add to this conversation before we move on? Okay. So, after a good 17 more minutes of hanging in there and watching this thing go at this, one final chomp, and it seems to rip off part of the top fin of the Triceratops, that big bone piece that projects out of the back of them, and takes the skull of this thing with most of the meat removed from it, and takes it in its claw and sticks its head up and makes like a battle cry out into the sky, as if this thing is saying, the things that fly here die. It is chilling to you all. Being that close to Brahmas and Merc, it does not affect you all because you know you've weathered this down before, but that's what this thing is doing. This is a victory cry. Go ahead.
I'm trying to imagine it. Colby, what does this creature sound like?
Come on, let's see what you got, bud. Now, is this Corey asking Colby, or is this Darius being like, hey, man, play your shit?
Well, what did I sound like? Did I sound like this?
Or did I sound like this?
Yeah. Well, you want to kill me. So, yes, so go ahead, Colby. Describe to us what the rock sounds like in feast and at post meal phase.
Maybe if you make it sound like a chicken, it's not as scary anymore.
That's what we're hoping, because we need to reduce the fear. There you go. Nice. Nicely done. It's those guys in the movie when they're in the mall and he's going, caw! It sounds like that.
I do want to clarify. So if we sat here for 17 minutes waiting on this thing to do that,
yes.
Would Brahmas have had more time to get a better study on it? Because we know it took it 17 minutes to devour a fucking Triceratops.
Correct. At this point, or at least, and that's the thing, if you're saying devour, let's go ahead and get on that first before we know, because roll another check if you want to, Jeremy, since it's been so long, and I'll talk about how much is possibly left.
I thought I rolled another 14. It just hadn't loaded yet. So 19.
19 total. Good. Tell me 2 or 3 things you want to know moving forward, other than what I already told you. Give you 2 things.
What time of day is it? It's getting almost to the point of being dawn, isn't it?
Well, we left the ship when there was only about 2-something hours left of darkness left. And we've been traveling for about 6 or so hours. So I'm going to say this is about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the day. So the sun is out, the rain's still coming down heavily. And here in a minute, we'll roll to see where that is. So you got about between 10 and 11, almost
Okay.
midday.
So do I get the sense that this thing is at the peak of its activity? Like, would I get a sense that
Yes.
based on how it's acting?
Yes.
So I would definitely be able to glean that it is not a nocturnal creature.
Correct.
Okay.
One more thing. And we already mentioned, and I'm just throwing this out there as an option, do you want to be how much of this thing is left in that amount of time, or you have a better idea?
Yeah, let's get an idea for how fast it can devour something that big.
Okay. So here's what you gather from this. It's half gone. It did this as an act of violence, not of necessity. It ate because it was there. And when it takes up and takes the mantle of that Triceratops in its beak and carries it back up to that volcano that we know is off in a distance somewhere, it's got another piece of the nest. It's got a war trophy. There is still quite a bit of meat laying there in this instance. Killtusk, because of that, Killtusk, I want you to do an insight check, please, for me, with advantage in this instance. And here's some little things I want to kind of clue you in on, Cole, because we're all helping each other, and to have someone that knows this area are big shoes to fill. So I want to kind of help you out here a little bit. Go ahead and roll your roll and tell me what you get. I'm going to advise you based on your roll.
11.
Okay. At the very minimum, which is kind of what you got here, you know that if this thing's just came here and gone, it's like cops. You know it's okay to speed here for a while, right? If the cop comes up and it leaves, it's like, oh, there shouldn't be anyone around for a little while, right? The other thing that 11 tells you is that now that this thing is flying off and there is meat laying out there, things are going to think it's safe to come out of the woodwork and eat. It's like hyenas in the desert.
A quick disclaimer, viewers, we do not condone breaking the law, no matter if cops are around or not.
Well played. Yeah, well played. That's too good, man. Thank you. No, I don't even want to mention the disclaimer that happened in one of our games the other day, but it was hilarious. We were playing a game and someone mentioned something that was kind of not something you typically should do. And the rest of us are hanging out. We ain't talked about it. And Corey says, disclaimer. And he was like right on that shit. It was so funny, man. So, life happens. Life happens. If you want to know which episode it was, watch all of them on Triumph and Blunder. Watch the whole list now. Available on Twitch. So there you go. But there's your shameless plug. So, with that, there's 2 things. Cops are gone, and there's meat laying there now. That's what you get, Colby. You can choose to speak up and mention that however you would choose to, but that moment comes to you. By the way, the way you're speaking as him tonight, you're doing a great job, buddy. Rock it out.
So, knowing that, Killtusk will probably be saying, Once- when the bird leaves, more creatures will come out, wanting to feast on what is left of that stuff.
Okay, I'm sorry, and it's maybe just me. I couldn't quite understand the end of what you said there, boss. Say it again, please.
Because that's like I said, when bird leaves, more creatures will come out to feast.
Okay, and you're saying it's kind of like a warning to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Bastille looks over at Valdera and says, "Damn, I was wanting to go out there and collect some of that creature and see what we could take from it." Valdera kind of looks over him, and she goes, "You do want to die out here, don't you? That's twice now. That's twice now. How soon you think they'll..." And as soon as she says that, you guys see something in the tree line. I will say this to you, Killtusk. You recognize what this creature is. Okay, and this is called a Vokele Khan. So write this down. This is VOKELE dash KAHN. Okay.
Say again.
It is Vokele dash Khan. VOKELE dash KAHN. And as soon as Valdera utters those words, like, you know, there might be a chance it could go up and maybe get a bone or some scales or something really, really cool off one of them creatures, because it did the dirty work, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the woodline comes one of these creatures, and it is this land's version of a Triceratops. But these ones have extra horns that sprout out of the back of their head, almost like a short, not like a long, elegant dragon horn, but short spikes that come out of the back of their head, and they have ridged spikes on their foreheads, and they have that same orange, blue, and red and white colors around the neck, as they have feathers that run on the right and left side of their spine that goes down that column of spikes that go down their tail. They are a deep amber color, and you know that these things are capable of breathing out embers and shit like that, and they are deadly. They are not like the other creature, but you know the Atlati warrior have taken these things down before, but they are a fierce creature. And it comes out of the wood line and stands up and comes out and kind of and looks around and begins to eat on the corpses of what was left right as soon as Valdera was saying it. Its head is buried down in, and it is going to town on these things. Its back is or is not turned on us. Its back is turned away from us. It is facing the wood line it came out of, and it shouts out a roar and a bark every once in a while in that direction, as if it's saying, you know, my meal. Fuck off. Okay? With that, Killtusk, you know that with that check, with over a 10, you got an 11. This creature will stay there and feed on this thing till it's gone. And it would be damn hard to get it to leave it. Not only for the fact that this is a big meal, it probably wouldn't even give a shit about us if it saw us. It would probably just want to bark and roar at us and have us stay the hell away from it. It might feel threatened. This would be a good time to go, in Killtusk's opinion. Okay? Now, moving forward, Colby, if you want to make up something or you want to speculate on these kind of things, you're more than welcome to do it. I'm just trying to feed you some information to kind of learn how he thinks. But at any moment, if I'm ever talking and I'm just blah, 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 just hold up your hand and be like, hey, I got this. I got an idea. Okay? And you are more than free to jump in. All right? With that, what would you like to say in this moment, sir?
But this will probably ask the group if they want to keep going and find a safe spot that hopefully Rowdy is leading us to.
Okay.
And so we can rest easy.
Okay. Well, let's say with that, you would grab onto Rowdy and begin that process. As Silowin never really descended from him or got off of him, Silowin would still be up on top. What's everybody say, yay or nay with that? Is there anyone wants to jump out and have a moment, or do you just want to give a thumbs up, thumbs down to moving now while Killtusk feels like the coast is clear? Brahmas is on board.
Let's get.
Darius, what are you thinking? Darius is like, we're skedaddle. Celine, what are you thinking? Celine is stuck in thought. Hey, Sean. Do you want to go with the group or do you want to stay behind? We're leaving now that the coast is clear.
I'm going to go with the group, and while they're doing what they're going to do, I'm kind of going to like keep an eye out for like native plants or anything that I can make medicines out of.
Okay. I'll have you roll check here in just a minute. Good call. Thank you. All right. So the group moves on. Okay. Just a moment. As that happens, we'll go here for a little bit longer, then we'll take our first break. We've got quite a bit of ground to cover here. So as everyone moves on, there's this sense along the party. And you know that saying, there's always a bigger fish? It couldn't be more real in this place. You know, we have seen the food chain of this place in a matter of moments. And, you know, Brahmas, you've taken down a frostworm. Or helped in it when you were a lower level. You know, Darius, you have never been against large monsters and creatures in your life. You've been against rebellions and people that were looking to overthrow the city of Agenroth. And you have fought against people fearlessly before, despite your best interests and things like that. This is a different kind of thing. And everyone's taken their own personal turn kind of coming to grip with where mentally they're going to have to be to get through this and survive this. This is a foreign land that's going to ask a lot of the people here. But the thing is, these things are just creatures. There's a reason why we still survive. There's a reason why people are still here. It's because we have the ability to use our minds and our intellect and our connection with arcane forces. Okay? So keep these things in mind. Celine, what kind of check would you like to make for me as we walk through and we go past the clearing and we get back into some dense and growing, even denser terrain? As Rowdy nudges us forward. And at this point, I'm going to say after all that, Celine is going to let you, Killtusk, ride the creature. Because I can see Rachel being like, we got lucky. I'm going to keep my eye out and keep my lance ready. You steer this thing. He's uneasy. And I can see Rowdy not being easily steered right now. So you're going to have the helm of that, okay? Killtusk?
Okay.
Celine, what would you like to roll?
I'll do a medicine check to kind of see if there are any plants that are medicinal.
Medicine check. Absolutely. Go ahead. I'm going to turn that music down just a touch. Is it a little bit too loud for you guys? Still pretty good? I'll leave it there then for now. If it gets too loud, just let me know.
So that's a 19.
19's very good. Yes, there are some medicinal plants in this area that you'd be familiar with. At least they look like things that you would find in your part of the world. Okay. I would say roll me a 1d4.
2.
Okay, and roll it one more time because you got such a high roll in your medicine check.
3.
Okay, awesome. You find 3 particular things, and these look almost like blooming wild onions. They have this yellow tulip kind of flower that comes out of the top of them with green spots along the stem, and this grows out close to roots of a lot of the trees here. This being almost kind of like a rainforest terrain, a lot of the roots are exposed on some of these different trees and these large jungle trees that are here where the water has washed them out. And we walk across a place that has the whole breathing landscape kind of thing. Hopefully you guys have seen this, where the trees catch wind from storms, and when they sway back and forth, the deep root system makes it look like the ground is breathing. Has anyone ever seen this of a raise of hand? No? You should look it up. It is really cool, Jeremy. And the root system makes it look like the ground is alive. And we come across one of these places, Sean. In these kind of places, these particular flowers like to grow along the root system and things like this. And the roots are the medicinal part of these particular flowers. Because the ground is always moving and shifting and working them up. They bloom quickly and they die quickly. The bloom itself can do certain things as far as helping revive people and keep them from being stunned and paralyzed, which is an addition to that. So if you eat these kind of things, your ability to be not stunned and not paralyzed is plus a 1d4 on your roll for up to an hour after you eat them. Okay? And the roots themselves are part of a concoction that will make it to where your stomach is tough, and it will help with anti-poisons and things of that nature. Okay? The second thing you come across as you're walking off in the distance for medicinal purposes, you would see several different small lizards and several different kinds of creatures and things that seem to frolic and move about this place. Okay? One particular thing that you see is a cluster of 2 eggs that have fallen out of a nest. Okay? That is overhead in one of these trees. Okay? Well, we'll say 3 eggs. 1 is broken, 2 are still good because of that 2 you rolled earlier. Okay? So you have 3 of the first thing I discussed. Okay? You'll have 2 of these. These small eggs are said to cure, let's say, let me think about it, or be a component in helping cure. Let's think. What is it? Would you say gas? Eggs give you gas, buddy. We got to be somewhat realistic. It's a fantasy world. Let's say with I know it'd be great to have one of these eggs eaten and prepared properly can help you with the endurance issue. It can take you from a stage 2 or 3 or 4 endurance, or not endurance, exhaustion. That's what I'm looking for. It can remove a level of exhaustion for you.
Yeah, get all
So
those.
keep those, write that down. One of these eggs eaten raw, shell and all, okay, can help deal with the exhaustion issue, but it takes a constitution saving throw to keep it down. Because I think that'd be fun. And that's the things that you see along the way. Okay?
What if I throw it up and then someone eats my throw up? Do they get the same effect?
Well, then it's a really nasty movie that you find online, and some people like that shit. I've just never been into it. So anyway, and if you know, you know. And I'm sorry, everyone, but if you know, you know. Having said all that, we move into an area where the undergrowth becomes cruel. is the only way to really describe this area. We're talking about thick briars, thick bushes. The trees grow up tall in this place just to try to rise up about it, and it is like going into a fortress of greenery and shit. Killtusk, you know that these areas are damn near impossible to hunt in, and even if you are able to shoot prey and find them in the thick of this mess, you know that when you were a small child, you were brought out to do these hunts, and you would actually, for the memory of this, you would rub your hand against your chest, Colby, remembering scars that are on you from where your elders and things had you trying to retrieve different animals that had been hunted and killed in this thing, and you got scarred up severely because the young kids are the only ones that are small enough to crawl in amongst these kind of things and get the quarry. And you were asked to go into a very thick part of this one time, and although you were able to make it out, it cut you very badly, and you still don the scars on your chest of that. This is meant for fishing. There are several different fingers of rivers and creeks and things that navigate through here. As you're going through this, I would like for you to roll me a history check, Colby. Let me know what you get.
Pen.
A 10. You know that there should be some boats that your people have made that you usually lay along the banks of places like this up ahead. You're not quite sure. You know that your creature is a very agile and adept swimmer, but you worry about Rowdy, if he can navigate these. But there's one particular spot that Rowdy's been leading you towards, and you had an idea, but him bringing you this close to this place makes you think of one particular hunting lodge that you have been to before. The lanterns that you saw hanging off the back of Rowdy's neck, and did you keep any of those, or did you just remove them from him and throw them down? Whatever, either answer's fine. I just want to ask.
I feel like Killtusk will at least keep one of them.
Okay. As you look through, you know what? With that clue, and with Rowdy sniffing around the ground here and starting to sniff the edges of what looks like a pretty wide, like a 35-foot wide creek that has muddy banks, and it seems to dive into this deep piece of jungle. Roll that with advantage. Roll me another 1d20, just because the clue's laid out in front of you to see if you are able to have a random thought here. What'd you roll in your second roll?
Am I adding anything?
1d20 plus your history. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, is it history, or what would you say it is? Because this is your ability to hunt and know about the things that are laid out here. So what would you say that your throw should be here? I'm sticking with history because it's something that you've known from the past, but I'm willing to negotiate if you are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on your side. Sometimes.
Well, I also feel like perception might work because you knowing that like you would probably try to hide these as well. You probably would try to look for them.
So you're going from the angle that you know these things are here. You just want to see if you can find one.
Yeah.
That's fair. I'll have you do a perception check, but straight. Okay, with no advantage on it. Well, yeah. Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, so Then that will be a total of 21.
21's really good. You know where there are several smaller boats, but you know particularly on this one snaking part of a channel that goes into this dark, deeper forest, there is a boat that could possibly accommodate all of us. Not the steeds, but us. That's the only way you're going to be able to go in here and to navigate through this, to your knowing, moving forward. To get to that particular boat from now is going to take roughly just 1 minute. As soon as I can find my 1d4, I'll tell you. 2 more hours to get to that piece of it. Okay, and Jeremy, just for the hell of it, roll me a 1d20. 1, it is just not even sprinkling and the sun's starting to break. 20, and it is fucking wet still, sir. What do we got for weather?
12.
Okay, still coming down, fairly steady. The thunder seems to have receded a little bit, and it's not ridiculous. This seems to be average rainfall at this moment. There's no storm. Okay? Killtusk, having said those things to you, what would you like to tell the party as Rowdy starts sniffing the banks and pawing at the mud, and he goes and stands into one of these deep kind of creek, damn near river kind of things, and starts taking a drink as Loki makes a sound, Darius, as you're riding him, as if he would also like to go towards the water for just a moment. Killtusk, what are you saying to the group with the newfound knowledge you have?
I feel like Killtusk will like say to this group, I know of a boat that can hold all of us except the animals on it, but Loki is a good swimmer. Rowdy, I am uncertain of, and it should only take us 2 sun movements.
As you go ahead, Corey.
To get to the boat. Yep, that was it. That was the end.
Okay. If you're speaking, I can't hear you. It doesn't show muted, but I just couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I mute my mic from this side.
Okay.
But like as he says, I kind of look over at Promise.
Does that thing crawl back up inside you?
How would you say find steed works? If I summon the steed, it's just there, right? And I can later on I can just summon it again, and it just kind of goes poof poof.
Well, yeah, I mean it'd be magic points to do it again. I would with our magic point system. Yeah, I mean I don't see there being any kind of limitation on that, sir, because the spell itself is kind of broken to begin with. You know what I mean? It just takes a spell slot every time you do it, and you can do it multiple times a day. So in this instance with this thing, I'm going to say yeah, but since it's such a large thing that you're summoning, this is no normal steed. I want you to go an extra 2 or 3 magic points on it when you're drawing this thing to you. Okay?
Easily done.
But yeah, I would say you could easily do that. Yeah.
Is this fine steed or fine greater steed?
You know what? I would have to say, at his level, this is only a fine steed. What's the difference, Corey? Just particularly.
It's level. So
that's a great question. I didn't even know fine greater steed was a thing.
I didn't either, buddy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Fine steed is level 2, and that's a pony, a camel. That's war horse and below, right? Fine
Okay.
greater steed, 4th level spell slot, and you could get like a griffin, a pegasus, a paradon, direwolf. So it's a large creature.
Okay, so let's just do this for theatrics and shits and giggles. Moving forward, you had that war horse that accommodates you. and it would have been of a level of the CR rating of something cast at that level. When you get to be a higher level and you cast, if you want to do the greater steed version of it, Jeremy, we'll work on improvised stats and give it possible abilities and things like that, and actually put some function to the look and mechanic of it. Okay? Because I really like that, and as long as you don't abuse it, I'll let it happen for flavor. And then when you do the greater version, we'll start diving into, hey, what the fuck can this thing do? Is that fair? Okay. All right.
I said what I said because I thought he was an artificer or something similar, and that it was his. You know how artificers get a pet, basically.
Mm-hmm. He would like to be.
Oh, the steel defender. Yeah, no, this ain't a steel defender.
You know, and I'm telling you, Jeremy, you know, early on, and I don't mean to get off track, but we're just having fun. We're having a game, right? It's part of it. I love the fact that I'm saying these things and Sean is randomly laughing at things in the background and I can't tell what the fuck it's about. So anyway, I'm always like, I'm checking for boogers. I'm like, what's going on? So, as we're doing this, Jeremy really kind of wanted to play an artificer to begin with. And I tried to think about it, you know, and then the more we dive into Merc and Brahmas and how they work, Merc is doing is it Fisser or Ficer? Artificer or Artificer?
Always called it Artificer.
It's whatever the hell you want to call it.
Right on. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. That's right. DM privilege. So
it's the Artie Tinker.
It's the Artie Tinker, yeah. He's kind of an artificer just in practice, that he's able to work and manipulate and create things through Brahmas and do these abilities that enhance the construct and make it able to do different spell-like effects and enhance and transform and do all this kind of shit. So in practice, he's doing artificer type shit. But in reality, he's a paladin that's piloting this celestial construct. So it scratches the itch, but it also gets Jeremy to play this awesome character. It's a compromise.
Yeah, I thought it was artificer based on the stuff that was happening because I created artificer once that was a halfling that got consumed by a swamp creature. Ooh. And basically the halfling was an artificer and he found a way to control the swamp creature from the inside.
Nice.
So that is wonderful. I love that so much.
That's nice. It's nice, buddy. That's quality. So, we got sidetracked, but it's all good. That's what the fun of it is just referring back. Okay, moving forward. With that, Jeremy, what do you choose to do? Do you go along with the boat thing? Does anyone have any questions for Killtusk? And Colby, make this shit up. Improvise here. People might ask you, how fucking far is it? How many people will the boat carry? Yada, yada, yada. If you need dice to figure these things out, roll them and come up with it. This is your chance to kind of be a little bit of a DM here. You're getting to create some lore that's going to make sense for the rest of us, okay? So in that moment, Brahmas, what are you doing?
If at all possible, has Killtusk already sent... Well, no, we're still walking to the boat.
I don't know if we're going to... He said this, but no one's made the decision, hey, we listening to this guy or what yet? That's where we're at.
He mentioned the boats, and it would take 2 days to travel.
2
hours.
2 hours.
2 hours. Yeah.
I thought he said 2
movements.
No, 2 hours.
I get it. Sun movements. I get it.
So
everyone's like, bullshit.
as they're going, Brahmas will look over at Killtusk. If we take this boat of yours, what can we expect of the river? Something tells me that the river is nowhere near as calm as we would hope.
Colby, in this moment, you can make up something super cool, have some fun with it, or I can have you do history and I'll give you some lore. What do you want to do, buddy?
Killtusk, like, since he probably was around this area before, and since he knows where the boat is, he'll probably like say something like, it will depend on how far down the river we go. But most parts will be calm. Other parts will be a little under dicey.
Is it a deep river?
You know that the river in some of its deepest parts, there's where your boat's going to be, particularly Colby. This thing probably doesn't get any more than 15 foot deep. Maybe there's larger openings in it that might go to 20 and 25, but you can skirt around those. This is in between a large creek and a river. This particular vein of this river system, it's going to go in and go underneath of the bridge that goes right into this hunting lodge. You've fished off this thing before. This particular fork, if it's what you're thinking, will lead you right into this place.
That's will probably reply to Brahmas saying, "How tall is Brahmas?"
He's about 7 foot. He's a big dude.
Yeah, big old boy.
Killtusk would probably reply to Brahmas being like around 2 to 3 of your Brahmas stacked each other on top of each other, and that's in some parts.
You know these parts much better than we do. If you know things are going to get bad, I need to know in advance.
Okay.
Would I happen to know if lizard folk, like the lizard folk, will be like around the creek at some point?
Once you get into this part here, soon, there's a chance that they could be out and about. You might want to talk to them about that. And we've talked about some of the lore and things of that nature. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I think this is a good spot to take a break so we can all refill our cups, use the bathroom, do that thing. While we're going, Colby, I want you to start to think about how you want to warn them about the 2 different races that we discussed and their role to play. And this is your chance to tell these folks a little bit of story about maybe why you're in trouble, maybe why it's dangerous here. You know, think about a little bit of a story in these 10 minutes or so. You've got some time, and then tell us what we need to know moving forward. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. I promise one day all the stress will not be on you, buddy. It's all good. We're in your backyard now, so it's kind of tough. So with that, I'm going to pause the recording. We'll talk for 30 seconds and get up and do our thing. And then we'll be back to this here in just a few. Take care. And we're back from break. All right. So, Colby, Killtusk, what is it you would like to explain to everybody in this moment as Jeremy has asked you, or Brahmas, about the potential dangers of this place as he's asked, how deep is the water and what kind of things we're likely to run into here. Is that practically what you were saying, Jeremy? Okay. And I'm just reiterating because we're back from break, that's all. You said it perfectly fine, sir.
Since Killtusk already asked to answer the first question, he'll probably reply again to Brahmas saying that there are 2 more two humanoid races that live on this island as well. One are the gorilladons.
Pronounce it Gorilladons, yes.
Okay. One is the gorilladons. They are a tribe-like race, like we are. Well, my people are, and they are more able to be passive with us. The other is the Vazilan, and they are like walking lizards, and they're one of the main reasons that my people are dying out on this island.
When you say the name of that, say it again clear and spell that name with the V, the lizard folk name.
Vizalin,Vezalin.
Let's say it's the Visalian.
Vizalin. Okay.
Visalian. Yeah. Keep that in mind. A strong A. Okay.
Okay, strong.
No, don't be sorry. We're just figuring this out. It's just when you were saying it was kind of muffled, and with a strong A on it, it pops out a little bit more, and we can hear it better on the film. Does everybody agree with that? Okay. When you say that, and especially Darius would notice a flare up in the temperament of Loki, as you're not riding him currently, but he's still in that area. Just the mention of the word Visalian gets a reaction from the beasts, and you hear the sniffing from Rowdy stop along the shoreline as you say that, as he looks, and you can see his ears kind of fin out as if you've said it as a warning. As they are primitive, simple-minded creatures, they hear that word and their defenses automatically go up. Okay. I'll start with Celine, as he has now shed some light as to why there are so few of his people left, the Atlati warriors. Do you have any questions for him about these particular people or anything else going forward?
No, she's just going to make silent observations and be logging what he says in her notebook.
Okay. Corey, does Darius have anything in this moment that he would like to add to? And by the way, the only reason I go through people one at a time, I don't want you all to think I'm trying to get you to stampede towards the creek, stampede toward the dense brush. I want to give you a chance to interact and think about it without feeling like you're interrupting people or anything like that. So that's why I always like to go around to people and ask if they're saying anything. Okay?
Well, I mean, I'd imagine that Darius, when the boar and Loki, made way for the river side or whatever, the creek side, to drink, I would have jumped off the creature and kind of been splashing around in the water a little bit, cleaning myself off, maybe taking a drink from us running around and being out. And I would definitely would have wanted to take in the scenery and kind of look up and down the creek, especially when he mentioned like the fact of boats. Basically I'm trying to get an idea of how rough the water is, kind of what Brahmas was saying, and then when he mentioned like how it should be calm for some points, I'd look back and what's the head count?
It's going to be Silwyn. It's going to be Killtusk, Valdera, Bast, Merc, Celine. There's 6, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's everybody. Am I missing someone? Killtusk. That's 7?
I think there's 7 because there's.
You already said mine. I was the second name you said.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
7 altogether, including Corey.
Okay, 7.
So I kind of look back at him as he's kind of mentioning some of this stuff.
How many boats are there? Because there's no way we're gonna all fit in one.
You would know this, Killtusk. There are boats that could accommodate you all. There are some very decently long ones that are available, but those usually sit a little bit more out in the open. The smaller ones for single hunts and things like that are the ones that seem to be primarily hidden. Even with Brahmas's size, that's the only really questioning factor. The rest of you could, easily fit on some of this, and the reason being is a lot of these ships are long canoes made out of large fallen trees and woven devices and things, but they are meant as almost like barges to carry off the hunts of the day. And when you guys come back with these large fish that are in this area, crocodiles, the different kinds of creatures from the woodland, you guys have a pile of stuff that you've collected throughout the day that you can usually take down these streams and take to the different lodges that rest upon their shores, the multiple ones that are in this area. It is not unreasonable to think that everyone could fit on one, and if not, you could even latch on some of those smaller single-person boats to it, making almost like a party barge of sorts, if need be.
And then, knowing that Killtusk will probably reply with Darius saying there are boats, well, there most likely be boats that can carry all of us. But with Ramus being so big and tall, he is most questionable. But there are also single person boats that we can attach or possibly use separately.
And I kind of like look up and down the river. Like, do I see any noticeable boats?
Roll a perception or investigation with disadvantage. And I'll see if the river or the creek river that you're by right now has the possibility of there being some.
I mean, it's a no, but I imagine like I'm
Okay.
kind of looking up and down, like I got my back towards the water, and I kind of look up and down the.
You don't see any. You don't see any at that particular moment right there, but as you see him look around Killtusk, you know that the larger one would be about 2 hours walk up ahead to be able to find it. You do a perception check with advantage here because there's a possibility you've personally hidden one here.
Use that perception, right?
Yep.
Mm. 19.
There is one, as there is a large tree that is along the edge of the bank with the roots washed out from the waterway along it. You know that hidden up underneath of this one particular tree, almost like in a docking bay, underneath dug out in the bank, is a long one that could hold at least 3 to 4 people right there readily available. If you guys wanted to traverse this one, you'd have to actually get into the water, pull it out from underneath of this large tree, almost like a storage garage, you know what I'm saying? But it is in there, in parked back up into the bankside where it's been dug out and covered in stones to keep its integrity. And it could be pulled out. You know, there's one close. But not the big one that you're thinking of. The big one you're thinking of is 2 hours on up along the edge of this. We'll have to traverse a little bit into this dense stuff, but not much, because you know travel like that would be damn near impossible for these folks.
Mm-hmm.
So, knowing that knowledge, as he's looking around to see if there's a boat or not, and he asks if there's any here close.
There is a boat nearby, but I am uncertain it will fit us all.
Okay. With that, Valdera speaks up. And she says to you, how much of this? And she goes over and she pulls up a thick briared vine from the shoreline and looks at it and stuff and rubs her thumb against it and says, how much of this do we have to navigate to ensure we can all fit on one vessel?
Probably knowing that even it was difficult when he was younger, having to go through all this, he'd probably say he will try to lead you through the well, I will lead you through less thicker versions of this.
Okay.
The the big the big batches of these briars will be nearly impossible to cross.
Okay. She looks around at everybody. She looks over at Bast. And she gives a nod. And she nods to you and she goes, to the bigger boat then. Okay. With that, does anyone else have anything to add before we move forward? No? Okay. With that, Colby, make a nature check.
Natural 20.
Thank you. That helps us quite a bit. So with that natural 20, you're able to lead us down and you're actually able to find part of the burrowed path that Rowdy pushed through in this area as he was stampeding towards us. With that natural 20, you would also find the remains of one trampled displacer beast that has, as of this point, not been attacked by anything else. I would like for you to, as we go up and you're lining the bank, and Rowdy seems a bit hesitant as you're steering him. He seems to be nervous as he's stepping over the remnants of this displacer beast that's laying there. Danny would want to hop off for just a minute, and he would be saying, I need to check this one to see if there's anything that's salvageable here. Okay. As he hops off to the side, or no, he's just walking at this point. Everyone's trudging on. Eris is gone. Valdera would look over to the side. She would have been walking along Brahmas, not on the warhorse with you, Brahmas, but along your side. And she would look at you and she would put her hand on the horse and she'd go, just a moment. If there's anything worth carrying here, could we have you hold it for us? Maybe even store it for us? And Valdera's asking Merc this.
I can certainly do what I can.
Okay.
As you can tell, it can hold quite a bit.
Okay. So I'm going to do a check on this thing. No. This thing was trampled to pieces. I rolled a natural 1. This thing was trampled to bits by Rowdy. This is before the main parts of the attack went on. You can see him looking very cautiously. As the two look over it for just about a minute and a half or tops, they come back. Valdera comes back to your side and just kind of shakes her head as Bastille walks up along the front of Rowdy and continues on this path. Bastille is watching the wood line very, very closely. Bastille, Killtusk, looks up to you and says, this displacer beast didn't have anything really we could keep, but it looks like it's been messed with a little bit since he was here last. And when you see that, you see Bastille hold his hand up. And in his hand, you see two primitive, what look like to be arrowheads or spearheads that seem to be pulled out of this creature to a degree, and you recognize these as the lizard folk kind of tools and weapons. Okay. He goes, I'll keep my eyes open. If I see something, I'm going to look to you as to what to do with these fucking things. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
How many do they usually group up in when they're attacking? You would know usually anywhere from 3 to 5. Okay. So, with that knowledge, you guys would continue the 2-hour trek to the place where you believe this boat should be. Okay? Along the way, I meant to say something to you, Corey, as everyone decides to keep walking and you come out of the water from washing yourself off. As the water drops down from around your face, and you look down at yourself for just a minute, in your reflection, and you'd always considered yourself a really handsome individual, very good at what you do as far as being a bard and things of that nature. And as you pointed out to me earlier, this was one of the first times that part of the curse within you began to creep out. Was in a fight not that long ago. You can still taste the bitter taste of adrenaline in your mouth to a degree. And as you look down and you're looking at yourself, you would go through that moment that Darius typically does. Anytime he walks by a mirror, you would usually stop and look at yourself for a minute and you'd be like, oh yeah. You know what I mean? He has that kind of swagger to him. In this moment, you look at your reflection, and the eyes looking back at you carry the weight of what you've been through. In that moment, you can't help but linger on the fact you've barely went through what you went through back there. How much has she possibly changed by now? If you've only tasted a fraction of this, and you're trying to think how long you've been gone, you're thinking back of that map on the Lilung in the ship, and the calendar and the things telling you how many months, how many years you've been missing. A lump starts in your throat. An uncertain feeling. She's been out there this much time, and you wonder if she still believes that you're going to come find her one day. The thought crosses your mind. If you'd like to share your thoughts on that, I'll give you a moment to do that, or we can move on. I'll let you dance with that if you want to.
I mean, well, I'd imagine that, as he's thinking that, the thought of kind of how it happens would come to his mind of, the in the heat of the moment is when it happens, like he's had minor instances where, the beast would get the best of him ever so slightly, but only to the point where he was able to utilize it, but never to the point where it took him over at like it did. But that's in the heat of the moment, the heat of battle, the heat of pressure and things like that. So while he knows it's not easy to overcome, and him being an adventurer means he's studied harder to push it down, that it is overcomable. That's not a word. That it can be.
It is today, dude. It's all good. It is today.
And so, like, at this point, he knows that he can turn and turn back, which means so can she.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Right? There's no reason for him to think at this particular point in time that it's a one-way street. It goes two ways.
Correct.
So even if she full-on turned, even for a long period of time,
yeah,
all it would take is the right. He believes that all it would take is for him to, come to her and play her favorite song for her to calm down and be able to, push that beast away, even if but for a moment.
Awesome. as you look back up from the water, Silouan would have dismounted off the back of Rowdy. Killtusk, she would have said, I'll catch up in just a minute. Something I need to do. And she would leave Rowdy for that moment. And as you begin to walk back up the bank on the other side after washing your face off, she'd be standing there, leaning kind of adolescently on this large glaive-like lance that she has. And she would be looking at you with a kind smile and those large avian warm eyes. The helmet, the part of the wyvern would be folded back at this moment, revealing just the wyvern wings on the side of the helmet and her face with the long platinum blonde hair out to the side. And for a younger version of yourself, she is quite beautiful, but she's much younger looking, not quite your speed. And as she looks at you with this very innocent kind of look and this quaint smile, she says to you, who do you see when you look upon your face in those waters?
Oh, I googled reflection. Mulan's reflection.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna do that, but
Do what you gotta do, man.
So he kind of like looks back down, looks kind of just cocks his head towards her.
I see a man that was once full of joy, full of happiness, and like all things, happiness ebbs and flows
Like the river here, and he kind of slaps the water.
Distorting the image.
Yeah.
And, well, I look forward to the day that I bring that happiness back.
Okay. When you say that, she smiles and she goes, that's good. It's good to hear. Thinking of the future. That's the right way to do it, I think. She smiles again and she walks up kind of close to you for just a moment and has those quick, like bird-like reflexes that she does. Avians have that kind of twitch to them. And as she does, she's quite a bit shorter than you, probably about 4 or 5 inches. And she smiles and she puts a hand on the front of your shoulder like this. And she goes, I know 2 things. The moment I saw you reaching out from whatever that was. 1, you have something that you need to make better, and I'm going to help you. And she smiles at that. And she says, number 2, and she goes to open her mouth, and she goes like this. And she stops her words. She stops herself from finishing the sentence. She looks over in the distance and looks at Brahmas, riding the steed still. You didn't vanish it away yet because we're still moving, correct? And she catches herself. She goes, well, let's at least make it to this cabin, and I'll tell you the second one. Sound good? That way we both have something to look forward to, Kind of like a game or something.
The future is all I have to look forward to. So it is but an additional step in the path to the end.
Additional step to... And she says your words as if she's memorizing something. She grins. And she turns around, kind of, I wouldn't say flirtatiously, but just kind of childlike, with a smile on her face. And she hustles on back up to Rowdy and begins to try to climb up. Rowdy again as they're all moving away from the bank. And she does very well for a natural 17 on her dex check. Okay? So as we're moving along, Brahmas, you would have seen that when she gets back up on the back of Rowdy, she has a smile on her face, as if she's pleased somehow with something. That there's a happiness that's come over her. Okay? As we move back up through there, Colby, you did really, really good on your nature check, so you know the path we went through. Did the displacer beast. We've done all those things. We are moving now into the last moment. I need to roll a check to see how things go along our way. Now, are we deciding that we're moving... Valdera would want to be moving somewhat with caution at about normal half travel speed to check in this dense place. Now, it's dense anyway. Even if we are in this tunnel that Rowdy has created up to a certain point. But Valdera is moving with caution. Bast would also be doing this. Is anyone else doing this? What about you, Killtusk? You know, you saw what Bast handed you. Are you leading Rowdy to take caution and watch around us? Or are you trying to hurry to get to her? You have a sense of urgency, but you also have a sense of purpose. How would you like to lead the group here?
Knowing, even probably knowing that we don't know where she is or how she is doing right now, I'd say he would try to be moving with urgency, like trying to get there in time, hopefully.
Okay, everyone, and we're not into just being at the very end of that hour. I'm trying to think. Now, when Celine did that, she said it lasts for 1 hour, right?
Pass without a trace.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's an hour.
Okay. Danny McGuffey, you're on speakerphone. We're in the middle of the plane. What's up, buddy?
Not much. What are you into?
Well, we're just now getting ready to find the, get into the pathways and hopefully get on a boat big enough to take us down river.
Nice. I am driving home. Just got to shoot a couple of approaches into icing conditions. Loads of fun.
Nice. We'll tell you what I'll do. If you want to, you can jump on, make a comment or anything, and we'll have to let you go because we're in the middle of figuring shit out. Does that sound good?
Alrighty. I'm actually driving. I don't know how I would jump in there, but...
Okay. All right. Well, I'll call you back here.
Everybody else said hi.
I will. Actually, I got you on speaker, so I'll let them know.
Alright, later.
All right. Bye. Danny says hi. He's driving home now. Okay. So, Killtusk, you said you're moving with urgency, correct? And then
Correct.
Corey, you're checking that out. And how long does that last? For 1 hour?
It's an hour. Yeah.
Okay. And we've been probably pacing longer than that since that, so that's gone. So go ahead, and since we're moving at normal speed, everyone roll regular stealth checks for me. Let me know what you get, please.
Hey, move your phone away from your mic. Yeah. When phones are near mics, it makes buzzing noises
Oh, do they? Okay, got you. Thank you, bye.
because of the signal.
Well, my light here is also squeaking. Sounds like that as well.
Okay, whoever gets the first amount, let me know what you got on your stealth check.
7.
Awesome.
14.
14.
2 14s. Okay. We'll roll for Valdera real quick with disadvantage because of what she's wearing. Oh, yeah, natural 2. Okay. And let's say for Celine, Jeremy, roll me a 1d20 and a 1d8.
Six.
Whoo! We're noisy, everybody. We are bottle rockets in the church right now. Make no mistake. as we are making through here, I'm going to say, Rowdy's hitting some of the branches along the sides and huffing. Everyone's kind of tense, trying to watch the wood line and see what's going on. Killtusk, we've got maybe 30 more minutes going through this until we come upon what we're meaning to come upon. I got to roll something. I would like for you to do a check, Killtusk, to see if you notice anything around, possibly. What do you believe that check would be?
Probably perception.
Okay. Go ahead and roll that. Let me know what you get.
18.
Did you say 15 or 18?
18.
18. As you are moving through, you look deeply past the thick of things. You're getting ready to get close to the river itself and potentially where this boat should be if it's where you left it. Okay? And as you are doing that, you think for just a moment, maybe you see something. Maybe you see something else. And the shadows and things are moving in ways in between the deep briars and large leafed foliage on the ground. And then in just a moment, just before you go to grab your bow, because you're perceiving these kind of things, Silhouette whispers over your shoulder because she can see your actions. She says, "What is it? Why are you acting like this?" What do you say to her?
Killtusk will probably respond to her saying, I believe there is unwanted beings here.
Okay. As you say that, you round a corner and Bast goes like this with his hand and he stops and he looks over at you and he motions to his eyes and he points up ahead and he does this. He's signing to you that there's a boat up ahead. He can see it. Okay? As you move along a little bit, as soon as he begins to move his hands this way, from the brush over to the side, and I rolled for this, jumps out 4 of those large toucan-like birds with the large plumage and stuff like that. And they take off, ripping up through the tree line, scared shitless from you guys, because in these rains, they're nested down like a lot of the other things. You believe that you were only sensing a pair or a nest of those birds. Nothing seems to be here at the moment. Okay? So, with that, you travel just a little bit further, and we are to the shorelines where this boat should be. Here's the scene for everybody. Okay? I don't know if you've ever seen the movies where the islanders are coming in on the crashing waves, getting ready to attack. And there's these long, pea-pod-shaped boats that hold 10 to 15 people rowing and things of that nature with high wooden sides, very low to the water. I mean, we're only talking like maybe 2 foot off the water with a pointed bottom to them. But there is one here, and it seems to be carved with scales and things that would symbolize that it looks like it is parts made to resemble a snake. Okay? It has large, instead of regular oars, and it has these kind of fins that project out of the side of it that are made up of different branches and these large palm-like leaves that seem to be all along the ground in this area. And it seems like the way this would work, it's almost like an accordion type thing. Instead of just straight long oars, this thing is meant to navigate small, narrow streams with the way that this thing pushes out the water, as it has oars on the sides, but they have this fluidity motion, almost like small accordion-like wings on the side of this. The snake's head is up above. It has a curved tail to the back of this boat. It has been here for quite a while. It has mold and things growing upon it, and it is tied securely to another one of these overhanging type trees that grows out of the bank. There are a lot of those as you're going up and down through here. As you would look up the length of this river, we're going to say it is probably about 35 to 40 foot wide. Okay. With different things that seem to be projecting out of it where trees and parts have fallen in and stuck down through. This would probably be anywhere from 15 to 20 foot deep in parts because of how deep the water has ran through here. And it seems to be at the bottom of what would be 2 different steep areas. And it would follow the curvature of that into the depths of this very thick part of the jungle. Killtusk, what is the first thing you're doing as you would... How do you want to do? Do you want to hop down? Do you want to say something to anyone? How would you like to approach this boat as you are the ambassador of this trip so far?
Yeah, are you saying my boat or the...
Well, a boat that your people use. You had been, I'd say, roll me a d20 real quick. 11 through 20, you've been on this particular one before.
8.
An 8?
Mm-hmm.
You have not been on this particular one before, but it is very, very common. There are different ones that represent different creatures. There are some that look like the Quetzalcoatl. There is one that looks like a jaguar. There are different ones that look like the earth goddess, Gaia. And there is one that looks like a snake. This is one of the ships that you typically have not been on, but you understand how they work and things of that nature.
Mm.
Would you care to inspect it? Do you want to tell the group what it is? Or just exactly what are you doing here in this moment? And then we'll move forward.
Does Killtusk know that if the alien like travel through boats or like travel through the waterways?
You do. They are scavenger race where they don't create much of their own stuff. They usually find and use shit that's already been used. And when they do, they leave it in bad repair. They aren't much crafters as they are just people that overtake and use up resources till they are decrepit and broken and they move on and find more. Okay? So they don't exactly create their own vessels like that. They create their own weaponry. They create their own huts. They're very clever as far as being able to set and capture and kill and trap and things like that. But if it came to swimming, they would rely on their lizard-like genetics to go through it. They are still that connected to being a feral creature-like race.
Okay.
Okay? So, does that help you any?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Killtusk will probably be with the group. Well, is there any... Can I roll for perception to see if there's been any signs? Maybe I could tell if lizard folk has been through here.
Thank you. Yes, you absolutely can. Anytime.
Okay.
Roll that check, buddy. Look at you taking the steering wheel. Grab it.
11.
You don't see shit.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. With an 11, you look at the bank, you don't see anything that has slipped in and out of the mud around this recently. The only thing that you really see is Rowdy's hoof prints, as it seems like he has emerged from this creek. And now that you see the mud along the underlegs of him and things like that, and you're starting to remember that paint had wore off of him earlier, that we discussed way back on the beach earlier, you're realizing that he swam up this a little bit. And now the pieces fit.
And Killtusk will probably look at the group and say, nothing has been here except Rowdy when he was running or finding his way to me.
Okay.
And
Now-
and I know how to operate these boats if we choose to use these ones so we can travel down the river.
Okay. With that, Valdera would walk over to Silouan and whisper a couple things to her. Darius, you would probably overhear this. They're somewhat closer to you in the formation. She goes, I need you to watch the back of the ship and I'll watch the front. As we traverse this, can I count on you? Silouan just kind of takes a gulp and says, and looks at her and kind of plays at that stern, that person that Brahmas is trying to teach her to be. And she says, I've got the back of the ship. I won't let anything sneak up on us. I promise. And she takes out her lance and begins to walk over to the edge of the water, waiting for the boat to be pulled out. Killtusk, Valdera walks down along the shoreline and nods to you that she'll be the one to help you try to untie and get this thing in position. Okay?
Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything before we get onto this vessel and try to traverse up the river? Okay. Brahmas, go ahead and go through the acting and how you'd like to say goodbye to the Celestial Warhorse.
So what you see is you see Brahmas turn to the horse, and he'd put his hands on either sides of his head, and he would touch his nose with his forehead, almost like if he was saying a prayer to it.
Okay.
Before he nudges it to start walking down the stream before it just.
That's interesting. Okay. So as that happens, Killtusk, I just cannot stress enough how incredible Brahmas appears to be to you. As you see him say goodbye to this deity and send it back off on its way. At any moment, if you have something that you like to say to interact with him about these things, any questions for him, because me and Killtusk has a lot to ask Brahmas, but it's at your discretion. You know what I mean? If you don't have anything now, that's fine. But in your downtime, think about are you a god? What are you made of? How did you summon that shit? Just any of these things I can imagine are piling up in your mind. At any time, you can interrupt me. Roleplay is great, okay? For that moment, Darius, I'm curious your position on this. Are you wanting to jump right in the water and help get this thing in position? Are you going to ask about the steeds? Are you watching the shoreline? What is your position as this is going on and people are getting their hands dirty a little bit, getting this thing untied and into the water?
No, he's just gonna let them do the work.
Okay.
And be perceptive, just to make sure we're not gonna get ambushed. Because I think in the back of his mind, it's like, this place is dense. He mentioned these different factions, so to speak, these different entities of people. And it's like, I know if I were trying to trap something, I would use their own resources to do it.
I get it. I get exactly what you're saying. Okay. And what was your check earlier again to see how the boat looked and everything? It was really good, wasn't it, Colby?
Oh, you trying to?
I didn't check to see if the boat was good. I was checking to see if anything was around.
Okay.
And
you rolled. It was like 11. Wasn't that great? Okay. In the pit of your stomach, this not being your boat, and these being uncharted waters, of this particular thing. This is a boat that some of the last Atlati warriors that especially the one that owns Rowdy, she's been on this one. And There is a pile of bones and scrap and stuff where the last quarry that this ship had on it to take back for food has been left. And that's rare. There are bones there. There's half rotted flesh, and it has a decent, nasty smell to it. As when Valdera walks up to the ship and she helps you start to pull, she kind of reeks back and moves her nose away. You would see this as odd, Killtusk. In that moment, what do you do? You wouldn't think that your people would capture food like this and let it waste unless they had to go or something else was more pressing.
I guess Killtusk will probably think to himself, like I hope she's okay. Because
Okay.
this does not look good.
In that moment, Corey, your senses, now that they've moved and stirred the boat a little bit and getting ready to bring it up to the side, Abramus, you begin to walk down the bank towards it. You pick up the smell of dead fish and animals and things from this pretty strongly as it's starting to work against the wind now being stirred. And that thought in your mind, you can't help but think about bait. Just and the reason I'm not having you do a perception check is because you've already verbalized your fears and your thought process on this, right, buddy? So when you're thinking about all these things that you were talking to me about a minute ago, I can't help but respect that and say in this minute when you're seeing that there's piled up food and things on this raft here, are you getting a whiff of it from it? You're thinking old bait that's been waiting. What are you doing? I mean, I think that's a fair assumption. Would you agree?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
Corey.
it wouldn't. I would think that I don't think Brahmas has a whole lot of experience when it comes to tribal people.
Mhm.
But what he has encountered in his life, it would strike him odd that if there was any resource left to spoil, that there's a reason, and it's usually not a good one.
I get it.
So if he were to approach this boat, it would be very cautiously, and it would be looking for obvious signs of whether this old stuff was placed here intentionally or if the boat was abandoned, what have you.
Okay. As you look this boat over, Merc, you believe this thing could hold your girth. You believe it could. Do you have any kind of, I'm just asking you for mechanical reasons, do you have any kind of spell like Featherfall or something that could help you be lighter in this instance, as if you've even considered that? Okay, and you don't have anything, any kind of ability to be like a motorboat engine for this thing, do you, or anything just fantastic like that? Because I mean, I know that the overdrives are new to you. I'm just curious if you've thought about any of these things.
I mean, realistically, overdrive for a strength boost and just swim down the way with a rope tied around me.
I mean, do what you gotta do. That's awesome. You know, I mean, I was just thinking about ways in which, Corey, when
I've
you,
got ideas, but one of them involves possibly being an anchor. We'll see.
okay, cool. Corey, with the smell of this thing, what, now that this is kind of playing into your fears, what is it you're doing in this moment as Brahmas goes to board the ship and this smell is stirring?
I mean, Darius would just be extra perceptive, on edge, just cautious as they're preparing the boat.
Okay.
Peering around, kind of getting an idea of what seems to be like a spot that someone could attack from. Is there a shoreline nearby where they might be able to pop out and start pop shotting some arrows? Is there some thick canopy that looks out of place, like maybe a tree blind type of vibe?
Okay.
Things like that.
With that, Before you get on the ship or after the ship, you can roll me a perception check and let me know what you get.
17.
Was that before or after?
I mean, he'd be before, like he's
Okay.
on the shore, being perceptive around, looking around.
Okay. It's hard because you see all kinds of places. You see other trees that are uprooted with those dark corridors underneath of them that lead into little tunnels all along this creek bank. You see breaks in the trees, thick briars. Hardly any birds move at all unless they're startled up around here. You don't sense any of that up ahead. You can hear the buzzing of the flies, even against the rain as it continues down. And as it's all hitting the water and making it kick back up and just raining all through this area, you're on edge, but you don't see anything taking advantage of it. But everywhere you look, seems like you don't know where to turn your back to moving into this situation.
So there's a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
But it's quiet.
Correct.
Which is odd for a forest.
Mm-hmm. Now, it could be attributed to the fact that it's a heavy rain and you've seen things lay down already. It could be the fact that the Quetzalcoatl just flew overhead and went back to wherever it was from. Could have things down. It could be things laying in wait. There are a lot of questions up there, to be honest. I wish it wasn't that complicated, but it kind of is. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
I'd like to kind of, close my eyes and just focus first on the raindrops hitting the water.
Mm-hmm.
And begin to hyper focus with my heightened senses just to listen to see if there seems to be any.
Does it seem appropriate for you to spend a couple of your points to be able to use that ability in this instance? Tap into that a touch. What do you think? Just for the hell of it.
When you say spin, you mean like add?
Or right now you're at a 0, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess it'd be at a 0 because he's mostly relaxed.
Okay, well then you really wouldn't have any points to spend towards turning into one. So I'm going to have you just do your regular heightened senses as you're not a hybrid, as it's just basically you.
Yeah, do I get... Because I thought...
Are some of those... I can't remember if some of those abilities are just passive to you all the time once you learn them.
That's what I thought.
I'll give you a plus 1d4 on another perception check in this instance. What I was going to do is if you had any of that stat up, I was going to have you spend a point or two of it to hone in on that ability of your own and have it fuel it. Just for a kick. But I'll let you add a 1d4 to your d20 roll in this moment.
Well, I was trying to see because basically that ability gives you advantage on perception checks, but only right here. So heightened senses, it's just a passive. You gain advantage on perception checks with hearing and smelling. It doesn't specify the change. The change is specifically more towards mechanical fighting type stuff.
So let's go ahead and do that then. Passive ability, you said with advantage?
Yeah, so basically it's just a perception check, but again, it is only hearing. Like, I'm not focusing on smelling, I'm not looking, I'm closing my eyes to hyper focus on hearing. He's just he smells that fish smell and he's just like, something's off.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's not good. That doesn't matter. That's a 14.
And that's with advantage and bonuses?
Well, no, there's, yeah, that's what the, yeah.
Okay. With all the different sound on the water and things like that, and you do hone in and you tap into this curse and make it work for you to a degree. With your eyes closed and taking away what things look like and just focusing on what they are. Nothing seems to be out of place here that you can tell. It's got to be either things have taken off in fear because that thing flew overhead not long ago, or the storm has things laid up. It's got to be one of those two. And you have kind of a little bit better sense before you put your first step on the ship or the boat that to the best that you can acquire, things are fine.
Yeah, I mean, he'd feel pretty confident at that point, knowing in his skill set that that it seems okay. Like, he's not on edge as much, but definitely, you know, he's got his hilt slightly ajar, you know, from the sheath, slightly unsheathed, should I say?
That works. All right, so is there anybody else that has anything they want to add before we board this and start that direction? Nope. Okay. We'll go a little bit more here, then we'll close for the night. Okay, it's just now 10. We got just another about 10 minutes or so, depending. Is everybody okay with that? Okay. So, as everyone gets on the ship, I'd like to hear just briefly everyone's position. Killtusk, would you like to be up in the front of the ship? Would you like to be someone explaining to folks how this mechanism works and how this particular special o-ring thing works on this ship to people? I know Silouan would be on the back of the ship with her lance out, 1 foot on the back, watching for things, watching the water intensely. I know Valdera and Bast would want to be up near the front of the ship, looking to make sure there's no obstructions or something silly that looks in the water. Jeremy, after getting into this, it would be common sense to be somewhere in the center of this thing because you're large. Okay? Now, in the center of this thing is a covered, small area that some of these rotted fish and things of that nature were in. You would have a hard time fitting into that, but you could if you crawled in and sat down in it. Other than that, you'd have to, hopping on top of it would possibly crush it. But there's kind of like a hut built onto this, the middle of this thing. And there's a large cylindrical pole that is backwards that has somewhat of a sail. It seems to be made out of the hide of a pterodactyl wing. That is actually fashioned and kind of looks like pterodactyl wing. It's folded down flat to go through the dense brush of this place. It could sail in a bigger area, but in this one it's folded very down and low. Where would you like to position yourself on this ship? Boat.
He would try to be in the center and try to hunker down in some way, but he wants to be able to be situated in such a way that he can move quickly if needed be.
Okay. This cabin part of this thing is more towards the rear of the boat, leaving more room in the front. So I'm going to say you're right in front of it. Okay, which is going to put you at the first 33% back from the nose of the ship. Okay, in the center. Any kind of spell or anything you're using as a beacon at this moment?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Killtusk, where would you like to be on the ship as it goes forward? I can either have you do a roll to do the absolute most keen thing because you're not a sailor, or you can make something up and we will make it work for you. What would you like to do here?
I do know how to operate it, right?
Absolutely.
Then
You have proficiency with it.
if I am not able to teach somebody else on how to work it, I'll be willing to pro.
Okay. I will say you could pick out if you would start looking at one side of it, Valdera would offer up herself to be able to work on the other side. So just overall, I'd like for you to do a check to see how well you're able to explain to her how to operate the other side. What kind of check would you like to do for that? What is an explanation check? What would that be, DMs? What do you think?
I mean, truthfully, the way you learn a new skill is downtime and time spent with someone. So if you
Right.
want to make it a check, I'd make it like a percentile roll, or I know I've seen some DMs do it where it's like, hey, every downtime you roll a d20 and you need to get 100 points or something like that.
Yeah. Now, fair point, right? But we're just talking about how to work a simple mechanism for a short period of time. Like
How
if
about
you were
this?
getting ready to, yeah, go ahead.
How about as Killtusk begins to explain stuff to Valdera, Darius is overhears him kind of teaching and notice that he was trying to teach Solowin to ride the bull or ride the boar, and now he's trying to teach Valdera to utilize the boat to assist, knowing that we need to be able to go. Darius would walk over and just kind of put a hand on Valdera's shoulder.
If you really pay attention, you can learn quickly by watching and listening and putting your hands on things.
And I would kind of incant, and I will use skill empowerment. My magic begins to deepen the creature's understanding of a talent. I touch one willing creature, give them expertise in one skill of my choice until the spell ends, which is 1 hour. The creature doubles its proficiency bonus and ability it doubles its proficiency bonus for ability checks it makes that uses that chosen skill. It must be one that the skill or that the person is not already proficient in.
Okay. That's perfect, sir. I like it. Way to reach into the bardic bag of tricks. I like it, man. So with that, as you explain this, she looks at you defensively for just a moment, as Valdera does, and she tones into your words, and she looks around, and she looks at this for a minute, and she kind of gives it a knowing nod, like she's starting to kind of understand what Killtusk is explaining to her about how these apparatus suck in the water, and then when you pull the thing, it shoots out the water, almost like an air bladder kind of things on the sides of the ship, almost like a frog's gullet. And as she is manipulating and understanding this, she starts to talk a little bit about, this reminds me of the bladders that I've seen on some of the airships up in Raven's nest up in New Gemdar, and I think I can manage this. Thanks. She kind of just gives you a nod, Darius, and she sits down and begins to operate the thing, Killtusk, fairly well. I'm going to roll just a check here to see how she do. Okay, that's an 18 plus whatever. So that's going to be pretty damn decent. Okay, just across the board. Just her proficiency bonus alone, with the increases to that, takes it up over 20. So that's pretty decent. With that, everyone begins to make their way upstream. It narrows and widens. It gets deep, it gets shallow. And as we begin to head that way, roll me a 1d4 one more time, Jeremy. 4 is piss pouring rain. 1 is barely doing anything. A 4. The rain has become extraordinarily heavy as the river starts to even move up a little bit, filling in some of those voids and almost easing a little bit of your minds, knowing that if something was hiding in there or lurking in these dark openings along the roots and things like that, that this would surely drive them out or drown them. And as the rain comes down, Rowdy, is in the back, dog paddling behind the actual boat, with its back up above the water and its nose, and you can see it muddying the water behind us. You can feel the waves of it hitting off of the ship to a degree as it's behind us. Brahmas, rain slaps that pterodactyl finned or winged sail. There are several low-laying vines that you may want to cut out of the way as you're going through as to not catch it, as it looks like this passage is somewhat overgrown. The mold on the ship and things like that would indicate as such, and the rotted food on the inside. The rain almost bogs down that smell just a little bit. Killtusk, roll me a 1d6.
Four.
A 1?
Four.
A 4. Okay. As you traverse this for quite some time, there is no problem. As the dice have been very lucky to you recently, this heavy rain has got things bedded down, and possibly that creature still has things scared away. As you are making your way to this site, this hunting lodge, as you feel like you're getting closer, okay, up ahead as the stream seems to narrow, there is a fork in it. The left side of the fork, you believe, would take you underneath of the long man-made bridge. Not long, I'm going to say about 30 foot. That goes over to the actual hunting lodge. But it seems like the water has risen and flooded that particular side. Could be something obstructing it. You're not sure. But the way forward to go to a large rock that you know that you've used several different times in well, no, you've not been up and down this path particularly too much, but you would see a large cluster of rocks up ahead to actually dock the boat against. Okay, so you have one of two choices. You can either dock up ahead on the rock where the water seems to be normal, or you could take that Y that seems to be flooded from an obstruction of some kind that yields to the left. Which way would Killtusk direct Valdera to steer?
You probably instruct her to help steer the rocks. With what, since he's trying to look for Tacoma and like hope and like to be cautious of any trouble that might be by that bridge or what may be causing the obstruction. He will try to avoid that and actually should see if he can get a surprise on him if there is anything there.
Okay. As you go in this direction, Brahmas is just coming down. And as you look around and you're peering out in the distance, trying to be as protective of these people as you possibly can, Silouan says out to you, she goes, "What's he doing?" Brahmas, what's he doing? And you see Rowdy, kind of excitedly, puts his nose up in the air and starts to grunt and make what would seem like almost excited-like sounds, and begins to trudge up out of the water and runs up onto the bank and starts charging inland and leaves the actual riverbed. Okay? At that moment, you begin to pull the boat, Killtusk, and have Valdera in between this wedge of rocks, where it seems like there's a good place for you guys to get off. There's not a whole bunch of muddied embankments. And you notice that there looks like a bit of a natural grove in this area, as the area, and Celine is going to flip out when she gets here. There is a plethora of different kinds of flowers and herbs and things that seem to grow in this area, as your people have a very deep connection to agriculture and the different things that grow around here. These are placed by mortal hands. As you are starting to see signs, Brahmas, of a landscape that has been tamed by humans, at least to some degree. Okay? I'll give you guys an image of what this possibly looks like. And I'll add Loki into this. Well, I could do it now, actually. Let me see real quick here. I'll put him back here, somewhat submerged by the water. Okay? Trying to make him kind of shadowy there because he's still swimming. Rain's coming down heavy. You see the signs of different herbs and different flowers and things growing along the creek bed. Large rock that you've pulled the boat into. And that's everybody on board. And Rowdy has just taken off. I sneeze. Yeah. Rowdy has just taken off. Thank you. Whew. Rowdy has just taken off southward into the depths of this place. And at that moment, we'll go ahead and stop for tonight. Okay? So when we resume this next time, we'll be looking at our surroundings, trying to figure out, why is that water flooding on the other side? Is this the actual location of the cabin? It's got to be close. Killtusk, you see every sign that it should be. Rowdy seems to have noticed something familiar and taken off in that direction. Yeah. Does anyone else have anything to add that they would be looking for starting next episode? Nope. Okay. So with that, we'll go ahead and end tonight, and we'll pick up with this next Sunday. So as always, we got here. I'm Brian Kynes, and everybody else, we're saying take care, and hopefully we'll see you next Sunday. Have a good one.